Chapter 81, Triple Kill. Translator. 549,690,339. Spirit and Body Dual Cultivation. When Han Yi first appeared, he noticed something unusual about this burly young man. This was a cultivator who practiced both spiritual and physical cultivation. In the cultivation world, there are very few body cultivators because although it is a branch of the immortal path, it is dozens of times more difficult for them to establish their foundation than ordinary cultivators. Even advancing to the stage equivalent to the late stage of Qi cultivation is extremely difficult. The disproportion between the input and benefits led to the extreme rarity of body cultivators in the cultivation world. Han Yi had also encountered a disciple of spirit and body dual cultivation in Xuanden sect before, but that disciple was only at the 5th level of Qi cultivation, and as far as he knew, there were no body cultivating disciples in the inner sect. He never thought he would encounter a practitioner of spirit and body dual cultivation at the 9th level of Qi cultivation in the Evil Mountain range. He took a deep breath, knowing that this battle would be the hardest one since he started and the best practice to test his own combat power. Just as the burly cultivator lunged forward, the air around him squeezed, carrying a terrifying power, and his halberd came crashing down. Han Yi also moved, but instead of advancing, he retreated. It is taboo to be close to a body cultivator in a fight, which is one of the prohibitions. While rapidly retreating, 4 daggers on his body suddenly soared into the air, their blades facing forward, trembling incessantly. The red halo emanating from the blades dyed the surrounding air with a hint of burning heat. Having lost the shadowless sword, Han Yi used the departing fire sword formula to control the daggers, increasing their power with multiple attributes. The dagger's power was even greater. Last night, he had broken the middle-aged scholar's protecting body talisman with 2 daggers. Today, he confronted this body cultivator with 4 daggers at once, showing his seriousness at this moment. Go, whoosh. This time, the 4 daggers were used with full force, not connecting one after another, but flying over a distance of more than 10 meters in an instant, heading straight for the burly cultivator. Boom! The halberd fell and hit one of the daggers, knocking it away. This dagger, the burly young man's body trembled slightly, his heart skipped a beat, and, without stopping, he lifted the halberd and flicked away the second dagger. His body trembled again, noticeably this time. Not yet finished. Lifting the halberd, he forcefully pushed it forward, knocking away the 3rd dagger. This time, accompanied by the trembling of his body, he leaned back almost imperceptibly. The 4th dagger was now coming head-on. But his old strength was already exhausted, and his new strength had not yet been born. He had no choice but to grip the halberd tightly, and the dagger stabbed directly into the halberd, making a dull thud. This time, unlike the previous 3, he blocked and repelled the dagger with his power by chopping, flicking, and smacking, but the 4th time, he had not yet built up his power, and the halberd and body were already one. A huge force was transmitted from the dagger. Pat, pat, pat. The burly cultivator retreated 3 steps, his face full of shock and solemnity. Why is this dagger so powerful? He had seen cultivators who practiced sword control skill before, but none of them, except for the few blood god's children above the Qi cultivation peak, could wield such terrifying power. This person must not just be at the 7th level of Qi cultivation, he must have cultivated a magic skill to conceal his aura, and suppressed his Qi cultivation peak strength to the 7th level. As the burly young man became more and more certain, his attention to Han Yi reached its peak. Moreover, it was very likely that the other party had altered his appearance and, in reality, was one of the inner disciples of Xuanden sect who had been sent to Yujing Mountain, ranked not last. Without waiting for him to think more, Han Yi, who had retreated to a distance of 30 meters, was once again controlling the daggers, coming to kill him. This time, 2 daggers were in front, and 2 behind, launched simultaneously. Whoosh, whoosh, the burly young man's face changed, and the halberd in his hand danced and spun. Continual metallic clashing sounds rang out. But the repelled daggers, without even hitting the ground, had already rejoined the attack. No, I can't go on like this, I will definitely be exhausted to death here. An intense look flashed in the eyes of the burly young man, and he swept the halberd horizontally, knocking the 4 daggers away again, and leaving a gap. He took a deep breath, held the halberd, and built up his strength. The halberd seemed to carry the weight of 1,000 pounds. Han Yi's face changed slightly. When he first appeared, the burly young man had used this move to wound Chu Jinmo's spirit sword, and broke through the fire shield skill, as well as 2 top-grade protecting body talismans, which was terrifying. He couldn't let him complete this move. As soon as the thought occurred, Han Yi's divine sense surged out, concentrating on one dagger, speeding it up by more than twice, and instantly slammed into the middle of the halberd. Bang! The halberd was knocked off course, and the terrifying pressure that had built up suddenly dispersed. The burly cultivator staggered back 2 steps, his face flushed, and he looked furious. Not far away, Han Yi breathed a sigh of relief, realizing that as long as he interrupted the other party's buildup, he could prevent the move from being used. The burly cultivator also understood this point, and knew that his opponent's sword control skill was too powerful to give him any time. It was absolutely impossible for him to use that move again. He held his halberd and roared, lunging towards Han Yi again. Changing tactics, he knew that as long as he could get close, he could easily kill him. Unfortunately, as fast as he lunged, Han Yi retreated even faster. Moreover, behind him, the 4 daggers attacked again, and in an instant, they had surrounded him, forcing him to use his halberd to defend himself. The burly young man was cursing inwardly, a raging anger building within him. But at this moment, the 4 daggers had already transformed into 4 flickering rays of light, each with a trail of red flames, weaving together to form a cage with him at the center. However, maintaining a distance of 30 meters from the burly young man was Han Yi, a cultivator fully focused on controlling the daggers without a break. And the current situation was almost exactly as he had anticipated. The best way to deal with body cultivators or dual cultivators was to kite them with a kite-style exhaustion. But for other cultivators, it's almost impossible to restrain body cultivators because their attack power is inherently much higher than that of ordinary cultivators of the same stage. Asterisk. Han Yi was an exception. His sword control skill had reached the proficiency of fire as purely green, and coupled with the departing fire sword formula, using the wind demon daggers made of extremely unique and difficult to damage materials, he had no blind spot targeting abilities. At this moment, the burly young man trapped by the 4 wind demon daggers knew that he would undoubtedly die if this continued. His long spear swept horizontally, then violently slammed into the ground, causing a quake. A circle of spiritual power fluctuations spread out in all directions. This long spear in his hand served not only as a body cultivator's weapon but also a first-rate magic weapon. In the past, when facing ordinary late-stage of chi cultivation cultivators, he only needed to utilize his body cultivation abilities to emerge victorious. But times had changed, and he had encountered Han Yi. Suddenly, he stabbed the long spear into the ground, and with a clap of his hands, a phantom figure rose into the air from the spear. This phantom figure took the form of a golden flood dragon, but it looked only like a third of one, lacking its aura and elegance. It was better to call it a golden snake instead. The snake roared, its tail coiling around the 4 surrounding daggers, engulfing them all. The seemingly illusory golden snake turned into a physical form the moment it wrapped around the wind demon daggers. Its golden body produced a faint golden light, enveloping the daggers. 30 meters away, Han Yi was startled, as his connection with the wind demon daggers was abruptly severed in an instant, making it impossible for him to remotely control them. Although he was surprised, he didn't panic. Here it comes. His face turned cold, remembering that his opponent was a dual cultivator with not only body cultivation abilities but also late stage of chi cultivation. In preparation for this moment, Han Yi had been on guard. As soon as the burly cultivator summoned the golden snake phantom from the long spear, Han Yi had already charged forward. A spiritual talisman appeared in his hand. A first-stage top-grade spiritual talisman, Yin Thunder Talisman. This one talisman cost him 200 mid-grade spiritual talismans, which was enough to purchase a top-grade magical weapon. At that time, the 9 Dragons shopkeeper He Fangwei had solemnly assured Han Yi that this talisman could inflict significant damage even on a cultivator at the peak of chi cultivation if it struck them. With a surge of magic power, the black jade-colored Yin Thunder talisman in his hand ignited without a flame and burned away in an instant. Han Yi pointed into the void, targeting the burly young man who had immobilized himself while activating his magic. At that moment, the burly young man turned around swiftly and looked up abruptly. His eyes revealed a shocked and fierce expression, as though sensing the most dangerous crisis approaching, desperately trying to make himself move. But at this moment, both he and Han Yi seemed to be slowed down. An ink-black lightning bolt appeared in the eyes of the burly young man, who had not completely finished lifting his head. The lightning was silent, or perhaps it struck so fast that the sound lagged behind, leaving only the sight of the lightning in the young man's eyes but no noise. Boom! As the sound finally caught up, Han Yi, who was within 10 meters of the lightning strike, didn't care about the outcome of the Yin Thunder talisman. He mobilized all his magic power, plucking with all his 10 fingers continuously, not daring to let up for a moment. 1, 10, 100. In less than 10 breaths, more than 100 spirit void fingers fell like starlight onto the spot where the burly young man had stood, the place where yin thunder had struck and spiritual energy had erupted violently. This was his follow-up move after the yin thunder. These 100+ spirit void fingers had cost him 80% of his magic power. After unleashing this dense wave of spirit void fingers, Han Yi retreated once again. If the opponent was still alive, he would have to consider fleeing. As the dust settled and the spiritual energy subsided, Han Yi took a glance and slightly relaxed. Where the burly young man had stood, the ground had sunk about 10 inches in a 3-meter radius. A burnt, unrecognizable corpse lay on the ground in the place where a thin layer of earth had been blasted away by the yin thunder. The long spear that had been standing upright was also blown several meters away, and the golden snake that had been conjured by the spell was completely dispelled. Han Yi didn't dare to be careless. He pointed gently, and one of the 4 daggers scattered around wobbled and stood up, then proceeded to stab the burnt corpse on the ground a few more times. Seems like he's really dead. Han Yi finally breathed a sigh of relief. That frenzied onslaught had indeed been a burden on him. Only 20% of his magic power remained at this point, and it was imperative that he left as soon as possible. Chapter 82, Han Shushao. Translator. 549,690,339. He approached and glanced at the charred corpse. The fatal injury was not caused by the yin thunder talisman. That spiritual talisman had only split its skin and caused whole body paralysis, temporarily losing its defensive capabilities. Body cultivators, powerful physique feared the lightning attribute magic skills the most. The spirit void finger that followed closely, taking advantage of the broken defense, engulfed it, which was the direct cause of death. Han Yi felt fortunate that he had been so cautious in order to kill the strongest enemy he had encountered so far. He retrieved the long halberd, which had flown tens of meters away, and placed it in his storage bag. The halberd's material was unique, and it had not been broken or damaged since being blasted off at the beginning. The surface was as golden as ever. Next, Han Yi squatted down and picked up the storage bag from the charred corpse of the muscular young man. Then, out of habit, he searched around the corpse and found a bag much smaller than an ordinary storage bag. Han Yi picked it up. The bag was black, roughly the size of a palm, and made of a material that seemed metallic but not quite heavy. It was so light that it was almost imperceptible, save for the soft and warm touch in his palm. After some inspection, Han Yi could not recognize what it was, so he casually tried to put it into his storage bag, but the next moment, he froze. The black bag in his palm did not move at all. Unable to collect it, he thought he had made a mistake just now, so he swept his divine sense and tried to put it into the storage bag again. This time, Han Yi felt clearer that the black bag in front of him was not resisting being collected by the storage bag. Instead, the storage bag could not accommodate it. So far, he had not encountered anything that could not be collected into the storage bag. Thinking of some common knowledge in cultivation that he had heard, Han Yi's face suddenly showed great joy. Could this be a Chenkin bag? However, it was not the time to explore now. Han Yi placed it close to his body, and after confirming that there was nothing valuable within a range of more than 10 meters around him except the charred corpse, he turned and ran toward the outer perimeter. 2/4 of an hour later, a young man in a blood-red robe appeared in front of the charred corpse. He bent down and identified the identity of the corpse before suddenly standing up with an exclamation. It is Brother Liao Yan. Brother Liao was actually killed. How is that possible? How could that sword immortal with only a Qi refinement 7th level cultivation base kill the senior Qi refinement Brother Liao? That young man's face suddenly changed. This is bad. Brother Liao is Elder Qi's disciple and has an extremely special identity. If he dies here, things will get troublesome. Moreover, he had the Chenkin bag that Uncle An gave him, and the things inside the bag are more important than our mission. I have to hurry and inform Brother Han. This young cultivator had previously acted together with the Blood God sect's Blood God's child Han Shushao. They had different tasks, with Han Shushao being responsible for tracking the demon tiger and destroying the disciples of the Xuandan sect, while Liao Yan was in charge of collecting precious spirit plants guarded by the demon tiger. After gathering them, they would work together to hunt down the Xuandan sect disciples. Earlier, the young cultivator had told Liao Yan that they had encountered a sword immortal, which caught Liao Yan's great interest. Sword immortal, the best at killing. As a body cultivator, Liao Yan walked the path of an undying and indestructible physique and became excited when encountering a sword immortal. The young cultivator disappeared in the blink of an eye. He needed to inform Han Shushao of what had happened here. This was a big deal, and if they really lose the Chenkin bag, Uncle An would be furious and they would suffer the consequences. An hour later, two cultivators in blood-red robes suddenly appeared in front of the charred corpse. One of them was the young man who had just appeared, and the other was the blood god's child Han Shushao of the blood god sect. With an expression no longer calm, Han Shushao's face was solemn with a hint of intense killing intent. He bent down to examine the corpse. It is Liao Yan indeed. The one who killed him wasn't that sword immortal but someone else. With a touch of bloody light, Han Shushao's finger gently pressed on the charred corpse. Then, with a pull, a strand of red-black air was drawn out from the corpse. He pinched the strand of air between his fingers. This air is somewhat familiar. Han Shushao's brows furrowed, and then they slowly relaxed. I know, it's that Xuandan sect disciple who killed Shi Heng. To be able to kill Liao Yan, it seems that this disciple is not simple. You continue to organize the hunt for the other Xuandan sect disciples, and I will retrieve the Chenkin bag and kill this Xuandan sect disciple. Han Shushao spoke lightly, his face showing a trace of excitement. As soon as his words fell, he immediately pinched a hand seal and dropped it on the strand of air at his fingertips. Soul-chasing skill. The black and red air floated gently and suddenly sprang out, turning into a sharp arrow, and sped away in a certain direction. Han Shushao's body disappeared from where he stood, and when he reappeared, he was already 100 meters away. His vague figure flickered and vanished once more, this time leaving no trace of a shadow. The young man who stood in place also let out a sigh of relief. With Brother Han taking action, as long as it's not one of the top 10 Xuandan sect disciples, he will undoubtedly capture them. In this way, we can retrieve the Chenkin bag and avoid Uncle An's blame. Otherwise, the young man thought of the speculations about Liao Yan's identity within the sect, as well as the means of Elder Qi and Uncle An, and shuddered involuntarily. On the other side, after leaving, Han Yi didn't go to Chu Jinmo but headed straight to the mountains. Because there was only 20% of his magical power left in his body, his light body technique was slower than before. However, it could be compared to an ordinary Qi refinement 8th layer cultivator. Next, no more accidents happened along the way. As he stepped out of the forest and saw 3 survived disaster immortal ships floating several hundred meters away, Han Yi finally breathed a sigh of relief. Numerous inner sect disciples were either standing or sitting on the immortal ships. I've finally returned. After glancing around, Han Yi was overjoyed to see Hefengdi, Chu Jinmo, and Shen Ru from the previous group of 7 gathered together. He was about to approach them quickly. Suddenly, a terrifying aura approached rapidly from behind. Han Yi did not hesitate to dash forward without turning around. In a flash, he stepped onto the immortal ship. At the same time, a middle-aged man dressed in a dark robe, who was sitting on the immortal ship, stood up angrily. HMPH. Blood God Sect, you seek death. The dark-robed, middle-aged man had a long saber on his back. As he unsheathed it and slashed, a giant blade light appeared in front of the immortal ship. The blade light, 10 meters long in size, was dark red and seemed to burn with a strange black flame. Swoosh! The blade light swept across. From the forest, a blood god sect cultivator in a blood-red robe rushed towards them, exuding a terrifying aura. He did not look at the dark-robed, middle-aged man, but stared intently at Han Yi who had already jumped onto the immortal ship. A murderous intent flashed in his eyes. This person was none other than Han Shushao, who had been chasing after him. However, Han Shushao never expected that Han Yi would leave the mountain range without stopping. Even with the help of soul-chasing skill, he was still one step behind. This time I can't kill you, he thought. But next time, you won't survive. He memorized Han Yi's aura and appearance, vowing to kill him the next time they met. Then, he shifted his gaze to the huge blade light that was pushing through the air. The excitement in his eyes suddenly soared, and with his 2 fingers combining, the bloody longsword on his back suddenly soared into the sky to meet the blade light. Boom! A terrifying roar sounded in the sky, shaking the forest, and the immortal ship's automatic defensive formation emitted spiritual light fluctuations. Before the shockwaves dissipated, the blood sword flew back to Han Shushao, who retreated calmly. The dark-robed cultivator who had just unleashed the attack darted forward with brilliant eyes. Flame blood sword. Han Shushao, HMPH, since you've come to seek death today, then stay here. The dark-robed cultivator vanished into thin air and reappeared in the position where Han Shushao had just stood. As he took another step forward, his figure disappeared again, chasing after Han Shushao. Everyone on the immortal ship was shocked. Among them, Han Yi, who had just jumped onto the ship and hadn't even had time to catch his breath, felt even more shaken, realizing that he had narrowly escaped death. That person was after me. Who exactly is he that he could withstand a blow from a Foundation Establishment stage cultivator? Luckily, I was a step ahead of him. As these thoughts surfaced, the middle-aged Foundation Establishment cultivator at the front of the immortal ship had already vanished in pursuit, leaving no trace behind. Of course, there were not only one Foundation Establishment stage cultivators accompanying the group on the immortal ship, so everyone did not worry about it. However, while the spirit energy storm caused by the collision of blade light and sword chi in front of the immortal ship had not yet subsided, a disciple suddenly stood up and exclaimed, "It's Han Shushao." The disciple's face was pale. Han Yi recognized him as a late-stage 9th layer cultivator, who had ranked around 20th in the inner peak competition. Since he could make this disciple uneasy and even knew his name, this person from the Blood God sect was definitely not ordinary. On the immortal ship, low murmurs of discussion arose among the disciples who had gathered in groups of 3 or 5. After calming his heart, Han Yi went to greet Chu Jinmo, who was coming towards him. "Junior brother Han, thank you for saving me." Chu Jinmo cupped his hands in gratitude. Although his face was still pale, he appeared unharmed. The silver longsword on his back had regained its composure and looked like an ordinary magical weapon, without showing any extraordinary properties. Han Yi smiled and said, "Sister Chu, there's no need to be so polite." Chu Jinmo's expression was serious as he cupped his hands and said, "It's a life-saving grace. Junior brother Han might not care, but I must remember it in my heart." Han Yi returned the gesture, "You're too kind, Sister Chu. If I were in danger, I'm sure you wouldn't just stand by and watch." Chu Jinmo nodded solemnly, "If junior brother Han is in trouble, I will definitely risk my life to help." Han Yi smiled. Chu Jinmo was truly a person of character. Both of them knew full well that this was not a matter between men and women, but rather a bond between fellow sect members. Afterward, Chu Jinmo took Han Yi to meet He Fengdi and Shen Ru, who were sitting and recovering about 10 meters away. Everyone greeted each other with a nod. "Junior brother Han, you are really lucky. If you were one step slower and caught by Han Shushao, you would have died for sure." He Fengdi stared at Han Yi and said thoughtfully, "Senior brother He, do you know him too?" Han Yi asked in confusion, "Who exactly is Han Shushao?" Chapter 83, Tacit Understanding. Translator. 549,690,339. Seeing Han Yi's confusion and it not appearing to be fake, He Fengdi shook his head slightly, thinking that he was overthinking it. There's no way Han Shushao would chase and try to kill a Qi cultivation stage 7th layer junior disciple. Han Shushao is one of Blood God's children of the Blood God sect. Junior brother Han may not know that among the Qi cultivation 9th layer, there are also divisions. Entering the early stage of Qi cultivation 9th layer is as ordinary as the Qi cultivation 9th layer can get. This is referred to as early stage Qi cultivation 9th layer. When the spiritual power inside their body reaches a certain level, their combat abilities in this middle stage are considered strong. Next, the Qi cultivation 9th layer reaches its late stage, which is known as senior Qi cultivation. Finally, the realm arrives at the Qi cultivation 9th layer completion, also known as the Qi cultivation peak. But above the Qi cultivation peak, there is a realm that did not originally exist. It is called the legendary Qi cultivation, or the half-step foundation establishment. Those cultivating in the legendary realm can all escape from ordinary foundation establishment cultivators. Some even have the ability to directly confront them. Of course, the foundation establishment stage referred to here means the early stage or the newly entered foundation establishment stage cultivator. Among the Qi cultivating cultivators of the Blood God sect, there are 9 people with special identities. They have a title, Blood God's Child. Blood God's children have formidable strength and are all cultivators at the Qi cultivation peak and above. Every generation of Blood God's children has only 9 members, no more. If someone reaches the foundation establishment or meets their demise, another person takes their place. Han Shushao is one of the 9 Blood God's children of the Blood God sect, and among them, he is top-notch, a legendary Qi cultivator. However, it's a little strange. Why did Han Shushao suddenly appear and openly challenge a foundation establishment stage cultivator? Reaching this point, He Fengdi's face displayed confusion, and He shook his head in puzzlement. Junior brother Han, when Han Shushao appeared just now, he was behind you. Did he come here to chase and kill you? Shen Ru asked suddenly. Han Yi spread his hands and laughed. How is that possible? I'm just at the Qi cultivation 7th layer. How could I be worth his pursuit? Although there was a smile on his face, Han Yi's inner heart was on high alert. Thinking back to the killing intent he felt from far behind him just as he rushed onto the immortal ship, the killing intent made his whole body hair stand on end. Han Yi felt that Han Shushao had indeed come for him. Facing a legendary Qi cultivator, he definitely had a slim chance of survival with his current strength. From He Fengdi's explanation of the different layers of the Qi cultivation 9th layer and comparing it to the many Qi cultivation stage cultivators he had seen fighting on the combat platform, Han Yi finally understood that the cultivator with the halberd he had killed belonged to the senior 9th layer. After going through the Evil Mountain Range's deadly battles, Han Yi had a deeper understanding of his current strength. He could easily kill ordinary Qi cultivation 8th layer cultivators. He could kill ordinary Qi cultivation 9th layer cultivators with a little effort. He could win against senior Qi cultivation 9th layer cultivators with full force. However, facing the Qi cultivation peak, he could only use all his means along with restraint and take advantage of everything like time, place, and spiritual talismans in order to make a slight chance of winning, although this possibility was extremely low. The cultivator with the halberd in the Evil Mountain Range, although his realm was at the senior 9th layer, he was not weaker than an ordinary Qi cultivation peak cultivator when it came to actual combat. Han Yi used his restraint and Yin Thunder talisman to kill him. However, facing a legendary Qi cultivator, Han Yi felt that not only did he not stand a slightest chance of winning, but he might not even be able to escape. This is a legendary cultivator among the Qi cultivation realm, possessing the title of Legend, and the power to fiercely clash with Foundation establishment existences. Such legendary cultivators should have profound meanings in every step they take. Why is it that at this moment in the Evil Mountain Range, there are still some Qi cultivation 9th layer and 8th layer Xuanden sect disciples? Instead of chasing and killing these people, why is he chasing a Qi cultivation 7th layer like me? Han Yi quickly reviewed the events of the past 2 days and focused on the 4 Blood God sect cultivators he had killed. The most probable reason was that those 4 cultivators were somehow related to this Blood God's child of the Blood God sect. He killed their people, and now the other party was seeking revenge. This time, he couldn't think of any other possibilities. Standing beside Han Yi, Chu Jinmo glanced at him with a teasing smile but didn't expose Han Yi's thoughts. By the way, senior brother He, I have a doubt. Since there are quite a few Foundation establishment stage uncles on the 3 immortal ships, why didn't they take action when our Xuanden sect disciples encountered an ambush in the Evil Mountain Range? As long as they take action, it will be easy for them to kill the Blood God sect cultivators. Han Yi respectfully asked the question that had been on his mind ever since he left the woods, figuring that He Fengdi, as a senior at the 9th level who had also experienced the Cave Heaven trials, would definitely know more than him, an arduous practitioner. He Fengdi didn't ignore Han Yi because of their difference in realms and explained it patiently. Our Xuanden sect has Foundation establishment stage cultivators, and so does the Blood God sect. The current situation is delicate, or rather, there's an implicit agreement between the 2 sects, that is, Qi cultivating cultivators fight with their own realm, and the Foundation establishment cultivators fight with theirs. Han Junior brother, think about it, if the Foundation establishment stage people were to act against Qi cultivators, who besides a legendary Qi cultivator like Han Shushao with his extreme talent and strength could withstand the power of one attack from a Foundation establishment cultivator. In that case, if you destroy my Qi cultivators, I will slaughter yours, and the foundation of the 2 sects would vanish, leaving both sects severely injured. So, this implicit agreement has always existed, and this Evil Mountain Range mission is to anticipate the Blood God sect sending its disciples to hunt us down. In the past, it was about training, but this time it's real combat. The sect hopes that we'll grow quickly in the midst of bloodshed, even if it comes at a tragic cost. After reaching this point, He Fengdi's eyes flashed with murderous intent, and he continued after a brief pause. As for Han Shushao's appearance just now, it was equivalent to provoking our sect's Foundation establishment cultivators. In such a situation, he was seeking his own death, so it's not surprising that he was killed by Elder Lan. After finishing his explanation, He Fengdi gazed outside the immortal ship at the calm sky above, a hint of envy in his eyes. Only when one reached Foundation establishment stage could they not be considered insignificant. Han Yi's eyes moved, mulling over He Fengdi's words. From the explanation, Han Yi gained a new understanding of the relationship between the two sects. Foundation establishment stage cultivators deal with their own kind, and Qi cultivators with theirs at first. This unwritten agreement might seem difficult to understand. Both were battling for life and death, so shouldn't they hate each other to the point of extermination? Upon further consideration, it made perfect sense. Without this agreement, Foundation establishment stage cultivators would directly face their respective opponents, even to the point where Golden Core cultivators would join the fray. As a result, Qi cultivators and even Foundation establishment cultivators would die. Thus, regardless of the initial intentions, the end result would be the same, a double defeat. In the end, the winning sect would be left with only Golden Core cultivators or a few Foundation establishment cultivators, leading to the collapse of the once great sects. This was a situation both sects were unwilling to face unless absolutely necessary. And so, this delicate implicit agreement had come into being. This was a form of restraint. Han Yi came to this understanding, remaining silent and contemplative. A moment later, the Foundation establishment elder who had pursued Han Shuxiao returned, secretly glancing at Han Yi without saying anything, and took his original seat at the front of the immortal ship. Han Yi roughly guessed that he probably hadn't succeeded in killing Han Shuxiao. But he wasn't afraid. Although Han Shuxiao was strong, it was uncertain when their next encounter would be. By the time they met again and he had advanced to the peak of the Qi cultivation stage, it would be unclear who would kill who if their skills were further improved. 3 days later, the number of people on the immortal ship Han Yi and the others were on had reached 100. Though the 1-month deadline hadn't arrived, they had enough people. Afterward, the immortal ship set sail to return to the sect. Chapter 84. Chenkin Bag asking. For the first subscription 1/5. Translator. 549,690,339. When the immortal ship descended outside the White Tiger Fang in White Tiger Peak, both Foundation establishment stage elders accompanying the team and Qi cultivation stage disciples participating in the trial missions breathed a sigh of relief. Being in the sect gave them a strong sense of safety. Han Yi followed the crowd down from the immortal ship and walked in the opposite direction of the market. Chu Jr. sister, Shen Jr. brother, Han Jr. brother, you all go back and rest for a few days first. In 3 days, we'll go to the White Tiger Palace together to submit our tasks and sell the rest of the evil beasts we hunted before, exchanging them for points and distributing them according to our contributions. He Fundi said to the trio along the way. To submit a task, one could choose any management hall within the inner peak. Han Yi had no objections. In the Evil Mountain Range, they had hunted many low-level evil beasts along the way. In addition to that, they had killed 7 7th-order evil beasts and 3 8th-level evil beasts. When these evil beasts were exchanged for points and distributed according to the previously agreed-upon plan, although Han Yi had contributed little, he still had his share. He Fundi, Chu Jinmo, and Shen Ru were all disciples of the White Tiger Peak. After passing by the White Tiger Palace, the trio dispersed. He Fundi and Shen Ru went outside, while Chu Jinmo headed to the White Tiger Palace. Han Yi stood in place, glanced at the White Tiger Palace, retracted his gaze, and walked down the mountain. An incense stick's time later, he, as usual, went up the Azure Dragon Peak. Along the way, he would nod and greet any fellow disciples he recognized, passing by them. When he stepped into the courtyard, his body and mind completely relaxed. A moment later, he took out 4 Chenkin bags and 6 items from his body and placed them in front of him. Of the 4 Chenkin bags, 3 belonged to the 8th level Qi cultivator, and the 4th belonged to the burly cultivator of the 9th level of Qi cultivation who held a long halberd. Han Yi tried for a while, but the restrictions on the bags were firm, and it would take a long time to break them. However, he was short on time, so he had to temporarily give up and put them away. Then, he looked at the 6 items one by one. The first item was the Wind Demon Dagger. 7 Wind Demon Daggers had a dark, cold glint, flicking lightly at the blade's tip, showing its sharpness capable of cutting hair at a gentle touch. What satisfied Han Yi the most was the hardness of the Wind Demon Dagger and its inherent wind attribute. With 4 daggers, I could trap and kill that cultivator who dual-cultivated spiritual body. If I truly controlled all 7, I wouldn't even fear Han Shuxiao. Han Yi was overjoyed. This set of magical weapons had played an extraordinary role in the mission at the Evil Mountain Range, giving him immense satisfaction. Of course, controlling 7 daggers was just a thought. In his estimation, a cultivator at the 7th level of Qi cultivation could control at most 5 daggers. Only at the 8th level could all 7 be fully controlled. It's a pity that the shadowless sword only saw one battle before it met its end. Han Yi shook his head in sorrow. The shadowless sword, stuck in the evil tiger's throat, was trapped by its bones, leaving only the hilt. Even he wouldn't dare face the enraged evil tiger, let alone the fact that the evil tiger had a supernatural power for immobilizing space. Even if he went all out and added the Yin Thunder Talisman, Han Yi couldn't see the slightest hope for victory. In the end, he could only abandon the sword and escape with his life. Han Yi returned his thoughts to the Wind Demon dagger. He really got a great deal on this set of daggers. At that time, he might have wrongly accused He Fangwei of the Nine Dragons Bank. He had genuinely not made much money from this set of magical weapons. Moreover, it was as if he had obtained this set of magical weapons at a low price in the name of the Nine Dragons Bank. This favor had to be acknowledged. Next, he put away the dagger and looked at the second item, a long halberd about 2 meters long, with a golden hue, exuding a supreme and majestic aura. Han Yi did not forget that the burly cultivator had drawn a golden snake from this halberd, which directly wrapped around his 4 daggers. The magic skill was terrifyingly strong. Moreover, it remained undamaged even after being hit by the Yin Thunder Talisman, which meant the material of this halberd was definitely extraordinary. With Han Yi's discernment, this was definitely a top-grade magical weapon. I don't know the name of this halberd, but it is definitely not weaker than the silver light pearl I sold before, and even stronger. After all, the silver light pearl wasn't the first weapon of the cold-hearted young man, but the golden light shuttle was. And this halberd was the first weapon of the burly young man who practiced both spirit and body cultivation. Han Yi put the halberd into his storage bag. Although the halberd was extraordinary, it didn't suit him. He planned to sell it and buy a new sword tool, this time a sword tool of higher grade than the shadowless sword. He looked at the third item, a silver folding fan, which was the weapon obtained from the elegant middle-aged cultivator he killed. This folding fan should also be a top-grade magical weapon. During the fight, the middle-aged scholar could transform it into a sharp disc capable of breaking his full-strength fire shield spell, its power earning Han Yi's admiration. Han Yi put it away, intending to sell it along with the halberd to earn enough money to buy a top-grade sword tool. Next, Han Yi looked at the fourth item, a broken blood soul banner, which was the weapon of the cultivator who accompanied the elegant middle-aged man. Although this blood soul banner had lost about half of its value due to the damage, it could still be sold, and Han Yi regarded it as a gain. After that, Han Yi looked at the fifth item, though item might not be the right description, as it correctly referred to 3 mid-grade protective inner armors. 2 of them were intact, one from the middle-aged scholar with a folding fan and the other from his companion. The third one was slightly damaged and came from the Blood God sect cultivator killed by the middle-aged scholar earlier. Since Han Yi already had a protective inner armor of high quality, he decided to sell all the inner armors he obtained this time. Han Yi looked at the sixth item. It was a black bag, the size of a palm. Han Yi suspected that this bag was a Chenkin bag. In the cultivation world, there were various ways to store items. The lowest level storage method was the storage bag, which was used by most chi cultivators and even some foundation establishment stage cultivators. The Chenkin bag was a more advanced storage method. It was not only larger in volume, but it could also accommodate living creatures such as certain beasts or even people. However, any living beings placed within it would feel as though they were trapped in a dark space, unable to move their bodies despite being able to think and perceive the passage of time. This imprisonment was even more terrifying than captivity. This was the Chenkin bag. Based on what I have learned before, the mental restriction of Chenkin bags and storage bags should be the same. If this bag is a Chenkin bag, the restriction should also be a mental restriction, and there should be no danger, Han Yi thought. Han Yi decided to give it a try. He slowly placed his mind on the black bag lying on the ground of the quiet chamber, immediately sensing an invisible force blocking his mind and repelling it back. Han Yi was not surprised but delighted. As expected, it's a mental restriction. This must undoubtedly be a storage bag. Moreover, the mental restriction on this Chenkin bag is not strong and is weaker than the storage bags of other 8th level chi cultivators. What Han Yi didn't know was that this Chenkin bag was not originally owned by the burly young man, Liao Yan, whom he had killed. Instead, it belonged to a foundation establishment stage cultivator of the Blood God sect. That foundation establishment stage cultivator had erased his own mental restrictions on this Chenkin bag for the sole purpose of storing the spirit plants he secretly cultivated in the Evil Mountain Range. Liao Yan, who was entrusted with using the bag, knew that he would have to return it to his senior uncle after storing the items, so he only left a shallow mental restriction on it. After all, Liao Yan never thought he would die in the evil mountain range. He believed that even if he encountered the higher-ranking peak chi cultivators of the Xuandan sect, he could retreat unscathed even if he couldn't defeat them. However, he met the extraordinary Han Yi. Chapter 85. Brutal request for first subscription 2/5. Translator. 549,690,339. Han Yi became interested and continued to use his divine sense to bombard the restrictions on the Chenkin bag. With each hit, he could feel the original restriction on the Chenkin bag waver. With the strength of this divine restriction, it will only take 7 days to completely wear it off. By that time, this Chenkin bag will be mine. Han Yi's inner heart was eager, partly with anticipation for what was inside the Chenkin bag, and partly for the Chenkin bag itself. In the inner peak market, he had also seen Chenkin bags for sale. Each one was at least as valuable as a top-grade magic tool. If he were to sell this Chenkin bag, he would have enough money to buy a top-grade sword tool, which was extremely tempting for Han Yi. Having thought of this, Han Yi unhesitatingly continued to use his divine sense to erode the restrictions on the Chenkin bag. When he became mentally exhausted, he would meditate to practice. After recovering, he would continue to wear off the restrictions. 3 days later, Han Yi went out, his face showing inevitable fatigue, but amidst the fatigue, there was a trace of happiness. It's almost done, even faster than my original prediction of 7 days. It should only take 3 more days to unlock the restrictions. Han Yi walked out of the courtyard, walked down the Azure Dragon Peak, and went to the White Tiger Peak. Today was the day he made an appointment with Hifengdi, Chu Jinmo, and Shen Ru. On the way down the peak, he met Luo Yunzhou who was going uphill. When Luo Yunzhou saw Han Yi, he showed an expression of, I knew that Han Yi would be safe and sound. Han Yi laughed. Senior brother Luo's expectations for me might be too high. At this moment, he recalled the dangerous scene when he was leaving the evil mountain range forest and approaching the survived disaster immortal ship. He still felt a lingering fear. If he had been just a little bit later and caught by Han Shushao, it might have been a tough situation for him. Even if the 4 wind demon daggers were used together, there would be no chance of winning. Moreover, he had just experienced a big battle and his body's power was only at 20%. He was unable to be in his best state, making it even more dangerous. Luo Yunzhou assumed Han Yi was being modest and laughed. Instead of dwelling on the matter, he asked, when will junior brother Han have time to share his experience with us and exchange ideas? Han Yi did not refuse. He made an appointment with Luo Yunzhou to meet again in 7 days and then said goodbye, went down the mountain and headed for White Tiger Peak. After reaching White Tiger Peak, he saw more than 30 people walking from the peripheral White Tiger Market towards White Tiger Palace and the way down the mountain. Han Yi's eyes flashed. These disciples should be part of the 2nd or 3rd batch that was transported back by the survived disaster immortal ship. Previously, 3 survived disaster immortal ships had gone to the evil mountain range. Han Yi's ship was the fastest to gather 100 people. After that, there were 2 other immortal ships parked on the outskirts of the evil mountain range. Suddenly, a familiar figure caught his eye. Han Yi's face slightly changed and he walked up to the person. Senior brother Guan. A person standing in front of Han Yi paused. It was Guan Di, whom he hadn't seen for a long time. At this moment, Guan Di seemed to be in bad shape. His face was pale, his robe was slightly torn, and through the broken robe, one could see the protective inner armor inside. The blood stains on the robe were coagulated and messy, indicating that he must have gone through one or several fierce battles. Just the pair of eyes that met Han Yi's were shining with an inexplicable murderous intent. When they recognized Han Yi, their gaze softened. Junior brother Han. Guan Di nodded in greeting. Senior brother Guan, is this the 2nd or 3rd immortal ship? Han Yi asked. It's the 3rd one. The first 2 ships have already returned to the sect earlier. The remaining disciples should be these people. Guan Di turned to look at the surrounding fellow disciples. Han Yi also looked in the direction of the sound, and the condition of this group of disciples was the same. It seemed that they had experienced fierce fighting. Upon further thought, the disciples who suffered the most attacks from the Blood God sect must have been those who were left behind. Of course, those who managed to survive would be reborn through the fire and undergo a complete transformation. At this moment, although Guan Di seemed pitiful with a pale face, there was a deep murderous intent hidden in his eyes. His killing instinct had improved by several notches compared to the past. Let's not talk about it anymore. I'm going back to Fui Peak first, and I'll find junior brother Han to catch up when I have time. Guan Di bowed his hand and walked forward. After everyone left, a voice sounded next to Han Yi. Looking at this situation, at least about 60 of our fellow sect members have encountered some accidents. Han Yi turned to look and saw that it was Hifengdi. Hifengdi's tone was complex and filled with regret. At the beginning, when they went to the Evil Mountain Range, they had activated 3 immortal ships. Almost full, each ship carried about 100 people. Now, only 30 people returned on the 3rd ship. With the 1st and the 2nd ships, that made it a total of more than 230 people, which was more than 60 less than when they first set out. These people may have died in the Evil Mountain Range, either killed by the evil beasts or perished during the battles with the Blood God sect cultivators. Of course, the Blood God sect cultivators did not win outright either. The disciples of Xuanden sect had undergone many trials through Cave Heaven trials, internal and external peak comparisons, and combined comparisons, and their combat power was raised several levels. That is why the sect added the new policy of going out. This was a practical test of their combat power. As for the outcome of the practice, Han Yi and others were not clear about it, nor dared to guess. A moment later, Chu Jinmo and Shen Ru arrived, and the 4 of them entered the White Tiger Palace together to submit their tasks, exchange their points, and then allocated the points according to the previously agreed plan. With the points from submitting the 7th Order Evil Beast, and the extra points given by Hifengdi, Han Yi gained more than 8,000 points in total. According to the general conversion rate of the sect, 7 points were roughly equivalent to 1 spirit stone, so this time, he gained more than 1,000 spirit stones. More than 1,000 spirit stones, equivalent to the lowest medium-grade magical tool, was still tempting for an ordinary spirit-gathering 7th-level disciple of the Xuanden sect. After all, it's not everyone's like Han Yi, who had an inexhaustible wealth to spend spirit stones. Han Yi exchanged all his points for alchemy materials and talisman-making materials. Although he had no need for them at the moment, it was better to have them ready just in case, since he didn't lack spirit stones anyway. Before everyone dispersed, Chu Jinmo stopped Han Yi. "Junior brother Han, you saved me once, and I owe you a favor. If you need help in the future, please do not hesitate to ask." Chu Jinmo's expression was much more serious than when she was on the immortal ship. Seeing her like this, Han Yi nodded solemnly and did not refuse. "If I really need Sister Chu's help, I will definitely ask." "That would be best." Chu Jinmo smiled warmly, her face returning to its usual gentle expression. "I met junior sister Yanru yesterday. She's also at the Azure Dragon Peak. When you interact with her, remember to invite me. Additionally, junior sister Yanru doesn't have a Dao partner yet, so why not consider her, junior brother Han?" While saying this, Chu Jinmo revealed a playful smile that she rarely showed. Without waiting for Han Yi's reply, Chu Jinmo immediately looked like she had made a sudden realization. "Oh, I see. Junior brother Han is just an ordinary alchemy practitioner and only at the spirit-gathering 7th level with low cultivation realms and weak strength, fully immersed in bitter cultivation without desiring a Dao partner. Yes, that should be it." After speaking, Chu Jinmo nodded as if in agreement and didn't bother with the dumbfounded Han Yi. She turned around and walked away. Halfway through, she couldn't help but laugh softly. Her laughter was not only ethereal but also filled with the playfulness and joy of a young girl. Chapter 86. Silver Galaxy requesting 3/5. Initial subscriptions. Translator. 549,690,339. The laughter was ethereal, carrying underlying tones of joy and mischievousness. This hint of emotion was something Han Yi had never seen in Chu Jinmo, causing him to stare dumbly. A moment later, he came to his senses and noticed that Chu Jinmo seemed somewhat different from before. Their relationship seemed to have taken a step closer. One of the 3 great illusions of life. Han Yi chuckled, turned, and walked away. Instead of going straight back to Azure Dragon Peak, he went up to Red Sun Peak, entered the Red Sun Market, put on a mask that concealed his aura and hurried towards the 9 Dragon store. Today, he was going to unload some of the spoils from the Evil Mountain Range. Fengwei welcomed him upon seeing a customer. Squinting his eyes and beaming with a smile, he asked, "Are you here to buy magic tools or sell medicinal pills, friend?" "I have a magic tool for sale," Han Yi said solemnly. Fengwei was momentarily taken aback, but quickly broke out into an even wider smile. His already small eyes squinted further due to the excessive smiling. "Please, do come in." After ushering Han Yi to the quiet room and both parties had taken their seats, Fengwei fixed his gaze on Han Yi. Without wasting any words, Han Yi took out his first magic tool, which was a blood soul banner that was over halfway damaged. The Blood Soul banner, I remember you sold one here last time as well. At that time, my assessment price was 4,000 spirit stones. However, the magic tool market was in shortage at the time and the price marginally inflated. Besides, that Blood Soul banner was not severely damaged and held 4 main souls within it. This one that you have, the banner's main soul, only contains 3 and the damage is even more severe. I can only offer 1,300 spirit stones. Friend, what do you think? He Fangwei licked his lips, internally overwhelmed with excitement. The person in front of him, who sold the magic tools previously, had left a deep impression on him. According to previous experiences, this Blood Soul banner was just an opening act. There would be higher grade magic tools coming next. Sure enough, Han Yi nodded his head in acquiescence to He Fangwei's evaluation and then took out 3 sets of inner armor from his storage bag. He Fangwei's eyes sparkled brightly. These 3 sets are all middle-grade magic tools called protective inner armor. 2 are intact, with the third one approximately 30% damaged. The 2 complete sets of inner armor, although they are both middle-grade magic tools, have different prices. This one, belonging to the highest end within the category of middle grade, goes for 3,500 lower-grade spirit stones. The second set of armor is just a regular middle-grade armor and goes for 1,500 lower-grade spirit stones. Regarding the third damaged armor, if it were undamaged, its price would fall between the first 2 sets of armor. With the damage, it can go for 1,200 lower-grade spirit stones. Adding up the Blood Soul banner, the total is 7,500 lower-grade spirit stones, or 75 mid-grade spirit stones. Friend, are these prices acceptable? Han Yi nodded, not disputing anything. He was quite familiar with the price range of mid-grade magic tools. The price offered by He Fangwei was already very generous. Good, let shopkeeper He take a look at this magic tool. Han Yi took out a silver folding fan from his storage bag and placed it on the table. He Fangwei's eyes widened in disbelief and he hastily stood up. The silver scale fan. He carefully picked up the silver folding fan and cautiously examined it for quite some time before muttering to himself, it really is the silver scale fan. Silver scale fan. This was the first time Han Yi had heard the name of this captured silver folding fan. He Fangwei nodded his head vigorously. Yes, this is indeed a silver scale fan. He put down the silver folding fan. Friend, do you still remember selling a high-grade magic tool last time, the silver light pearl? Han Yi nodded. That silver light pearl was obtained from a young man who possessed a top-grade magic tool, the golden light shuttle, and had a cold smile on his face. It was a set of high-grade magic tools. It was because he sold that set of magic tools that Han Yi had the money to make other purchases. Not only did he buy the Wind Demon Dagger, but also several spiritual talismans, including the first-grade Yin Thunder Talisman. In retrospect, it was the selling and buying that enabled Han Yi to leave the evil mountain unscathed, killing 4 people and obtaining numerous spoils of war. He took from the Blood God sect and used it against the Blood God sect. All was predestined. He Fangwei continued. The last time silver light pearl was valued at 600 mid-grade spirit stones, which equals to 60,000 lower-grade spirit stones. That silver light pearl came from one of the 3 great sects of Dakion, the Southern Dipper Divine Palace. This silver scale fan also comes from the same place. In terms of power, the silver scale fan is somewhat stronger than the silver light pearl, but because the silver light pearl is part of a magic tool set where each of the 3 silver light pearls on its own is a high-grade magic tool, thus the price of this silver scale fan, I would value a bit lower than the silver light pearl, 560 mid-grade spirit stones. Friend, what do you think? Hearing 560 mid-grade spirit stones, Han Yi could not help but be pleased. Previously when he sold the silver light pearl, he received 600 mid-grade spirit stones. Now, after selling the silver scale fan, he had another 560 mid-grade spirit stones. Disciples of the Blood God sect, they were really like wealth-spreading godchildren. Alright, we will go with shopkeeper Yi's offer. Before Han Yi could take out the 4th magic tool, He Fangwei was already admiring the silver scale fan. A mysterious look flashed in his eyes. Friend, do you know the connection between the silver light pearl and the silver scale fan? Han Yi was taken aback, but unhesitant to retrieve another magic tool and shook his head. Are the 2 related? He Fangwei straightened his face. The Southern Dipper Divine Palace, as one of the 3 great sects of Dakion, is famous for a series of magic tools which are highly regarded and sought after. Among them, the high-grade Silver series and the top-grade Fire series are popular for their powerful abilities and are also much feared. The Silver Light Pearl, Silver Scale Fan, they all belong to the high-grade Silver series. Following a change in his tone, He Fengwei tentatively asked, "Friend, did you just come back from the Evil Mountain Range?" He had not investigated Han Yi's identity before and had made several assumptions. He had guessed that Han Yi was an outer disciple at the 6th level, but now it looked as if Han Yi was an inner disciple, and that was why he had the opportunity to participate in the Evil Mountain Range mission. This also explained how he managed to score so many magic tools from the Blood God sect recently. For a time, he had many unsure speculations about Han Yi's identity. Han Yi nodded, essentially confirming it, but did not elaborate further. Instead, he put the last magic tool from the storage bag on the table. "Shopkeeper He, I have one last magic tool for you to appraise." A golden halberd was placed gently on the table. The halberd was 2 meters long as the table, and was entirely gold-plated. Once it was placed on the table, the entire room seemed immediately more dignified. Initially, He Fengwei thought that, like the last time, this transaction had come to an end. However, he didn't expect Han Yi to present another magic tool. After a moment's stupor, he leaned forward to closely inspect the halberd on the table. He first looked at its surface, touched and tapped it, and then mobilized an appraisal skill, channeling magical power into the halberd. A faint golden light flowed over the surface of the halberd, like a golden dragon. After a good half-tea's time, He Fengwei finally finished appraising the halberd. His face held a complicated expression, both shocked and dazed. For the first time ever, Han Yi saw such complex emotions on He Fengwei's face. Shopkeeper He, Chapter 87. Shadow-bearing sword requesting first subscription 4/5. Translator. 549,690,339. Manager He, has the appraisal been completed? He Fengwei nodded, his gaze falling on Han Yi. "Fellow Taoist, you are truly blessed and lucky. To be honest, I have never seen this spear before." Han Yi revealed an expression of understanding. There were countless cultivators in the world, and magical weapons were even more diverse and complex. It was impossible for He Fengwei to have seen every single one of them and recognize them all. It was normal for him not to have seen this weapon before. However, He Fengwei changed his tone. "Upon my appraisal, this spear has several distinctive features. Firstly, it is made of a special material. The spear is entirely made of a unique metal called Hengyang red gold, which is suitable for forging high-quality magical weapons. Secondly, this spear has a strand of Dakion Immortal Country's national fortune on it. Its former owner must have had a close relationship with the Dakion Immortal Country. Inside the spear, there is a sealed Chenchuan snake soul, which is fused with that strand of Dakion national fortune, making it extremely powerful." After saying these two things, He Fengwei pointed at the spear with an unprecedented solemn expression. "This is not an ordinary top-grade magical weapon, it is a custom-made exclusive weapon. Furthermore, it has surpassed the category of top-grade magical weapons but has not yet reached the high-quality magical weapons. If we have to categorize it, we can call it a half-step high-quality magical weapon. Fellow Taoist, aren't you sure you want to sell this weapon?" After hearing He Fengwei's words, Han Yi suddenly hesitated. However, after some thought, he nodded firmly. Indeed, the weapon was not suitable for him. Moreover, regarding the grade, he still had a real high-quality magical weapon, the Golden Light Shuttle, in his possession. The quality of magical weapons lies in their suitability for the user, not in the quantity or accumulation of useless weapons. Till sell it. But, what is this Dakion national fortune that manager he mentioned earlier, and what is the Chenchuan snake? Han Yi had known before about Hengyang red gold, an extremely rare metal that combined both hardness and toughness, making it one of the main materials for forging high-quality magical weapons. As for the Dakion national fortune and the Chenchuan snake, he had no knowledge of them. He took this opportunity to inquire and expand his knowledge. The so-called Dakion national fortune, as the name suggests, refers to the fortune of the Dakion Immortal Country. The vast immortal country is related to the fortune of Dakion, and even we have a bit of it, although it is extremely faint, almost non-existent. The strand of national fortune on this spear is at least at the level of a duke or marquis, only achievable through refining. It means that the master of this spear had a close connection with a certain duke or marquis of the Dakion Immortal Country, most likely their offspring. Fellow Taoist, you must be careful. The Dakion Immortal Country might possess mysterious immortal techniques that can trace causality back to you. He Fengwei's final words made Han Yi's heart tighten. He never would have thought previously that the brawny youth he killed actually had such an identity. However, having killed him, he had no regrets. In the competition of a mortal path, showing mercy would only lead to one's own demise. Thank you for enlightening me, manager he. Please help me appraise the price. This spear is a bit troublesome to sell, as there are some complicated formalities involved, and some operations need to be carried out. Therefore, one can only appraise its price at 900 medium-grade spirit stones. What do you think, fellow Taoist? Normally, the price of a top-grade magical weapon would range from 100 to 1000 medium-grade spirit stones. The spear being appraised at 900 medium-grade spirit stones already exceeded Han Yi's expectations. No problem, sell it. Han Yi replied decisively. Also, are there any top-quality sword weapons in Manager Yi's store? I'd like to make a purchase. Han Yi added. Yes, we have top-grade sword weapons and even high-quality sword weapons at Julong Commerce. A smile spread across Manager Yi's face. Selling a magical weapon, he could make a profit, buying a magical weapon, and he could make another profit. This fellow Taoist was truly a lucky star. 2 full hours passed. Han Yi walked out of the Julong shop, his face satisfied, but also with an inevitable twinge of pain. On this trip, he sold his spoils, including the Blood Soul banner, inner armor, silver scale fan, and the long halberd, earning a total of 1,535 middle-grade spirit stones. This sum of money was comparable to that of a foundation establishment stage cultivator with weaker financial means. However, Han Yi then purchased a sword tool. The top-grade magic weapon, shadow-bearing sword. This sword tool, from the top-tier refining sect Wild Tool Sect, cost Han Yi 700 middle-grade spirit stones. Then, Han Yi bought a scries of spiritual talismans, all of which were middle-grade spiritual talismans at the least. Explosion symbol, God movement talisman, escaping talisman, protecting body talisman, yin thunder talisman, etc. Among them, the explosion symbol and God movement talisman were middle-grade spiritual talismans, and the protecting body talisman and escaping talisman were all high-grade spiritual talismans. As for the yin thunder talisman, it was a top-grade spiritual talisman. Last time during the Evil Mountain Range trip, Han Yi had proven that the yin thunder talisman was indeed useful and worth buying. This time, he chose to repurchase it and bought 2 directly, spending 400 middle-grade spirit stones, making He Fengwei smile from car to ear with a cunning merchant look on his face. After a shopping spree like a tiger, Han Yi's earnings from this trip were reduced to just over 300 middle-grade spirit stones. Adding to the original 200-plus spirit stones he now possessed over 500 middle-grade spirit stones, speaking only of spirit stones. And if you account for the 5 storage bags and 1 Chenkin bag he hadn't opened yet, as well as the Wind Demon dagger, the newly acquired shadow-bearing sword, and numerous spiritual talismans, his wealth would make any foundation establishment stage cultivator envious. This time, the transaction amount was more than double the previous one, but after years of trading with the Julong shop, they have become acquainted. Especially after Han Yi entered the inner sect, he had also secretly inquired about the Julong shop's creditworthiness and was fairly confident in them. Carrying a full load, Han Yi intended to seclude himself for a few days and wear off the restrictions on the Chenkin bag. He was very curious about the Chenkin bag and was more curious about it than the other 4 storage bags for 8th layer Qi condensation cultivators. But when he arrived at the courtyard, Han Yi met Luo Yunzhou waiting there. Junior brother Han, I've been waiting for a long time. The sect suddenly issued an order that the 2nd and 3rd batches of Inner Door disciples going to the Evil Mountain Range to hunt evil beasts have been brought forward. The 2nd batch is set to go in 7 days, and both junior sister Yan Ru and I will be in this batch. I've been waiting here to ask junior brother Han for advice on your experiences. Come, the spirit wine and delicacies have been prepared, and I've been waiting for junior brother Han for a long time. Han Yi nodded and did not refuse. However, he was puzzled by the advancement of the sect's mission. A moment later, Han Yi followed Luo Yunzhou to the Yixian building. This time, Luo had reserved a private room. Inside the private room, Yan Ru had been waiting for a while. Seeing Han Yi's arrival, Yan Ru stood up, and her cold face grew warmer. The trio sat down. Han Yi suddenly asked, by the way, isn't junior sister Qi Hong here? In these years, Qi Hong and Yan Ru had become close. Qi Hong was in the 3rd batch and, logically speaking, if they were inviting Han Yi to share his experiences, Qi Hong should be present. Yan Ru shook her head. Junior sister Qi Hong didn't come down from Vermilion Bird Peak. She said she would ask her fellow senior brother on Vermilion Bird Peak for advice. So, this time, we didn't invite her. Han Yi nodded and didn't ask any further. Hurry up and start. Luo Yunzhou was getting a little anxious. Han Yi was in no rush. He took a sip of spirit wine, thought for a moment, weighed his words, and said solemnly, "This mission is very dangerous." Chapter 88. Blood Bone Spirit Flower, First Order Request 5/5. Translator. 549,690,339. The first sentence pointed out the danger. Yan Ru's face became serious. She also heard about it and indeed it was dangerous, so she didn't think much about it. However, Luo Yunzhou was different, as he knew about Han Yi's terrifying strength. If even Han Yi said it was dangerous, to ordinary disciples, it might very well be a place of slaughter. With that thought, his face couldn't help but turn slightly pale. Could it be that he escaped Tianqing City, but couldn't escape the evil mountain? Han Yi glanced at him. However, there are many techniques to reduce the danger, despite its peril. With this sentence, both Yan Ru's and Luo Yunzhou's eyes lit up. Among them, Luo Yunzhou's gaze towards Han Yi was as if he had grasped a life-saving straw. First of all, you must know that the danger of the evil mountain range comes from two aspects. On the one hand, it is the demon beasts themselves in the mountain range. Once you go deeper than 100 kilometers, you will encounter 7th-order demon beasts, which are more powerful than cultivators of the same realm. Han Yi thought of the demon tiger roaring under the moonlight, and a sudden trepidation crossed his mind. His shadowless sword could not even penetrate its throat bones and was stuck, unable to retrieve it. In the end, he had no choice but to let go. It had taken Han Yi many years to refine the shadowless sword. He would never have given it up unless it was absolutely necessary. It goes to show that at the time, he didn't have even a sliver of hope for victory. The second aspect is the slaughter by the blood god sect's disciples. You have all experienced the Battle of the Demon Cave, and senior brother Luo Yunzhou has also experienced the Battle of Tianqing City. You have gained some experience in this regard. If you encounter it, the only option is to fight, no need to say more. Han Yi hid the fact that he had killed 4 blood god sect disciples and recounted the other encounters after entering the evil mountain range. Among them, he put emphasis on the demon tiger and the corpses of his fellow Xuandan sect martial brothers that he had encountered. Luo Yunzhou looked at Han Yi and guessed in his heart that Han Yi must have hidden some facts, such as fighting with the blood god sect's cultivators, but he didn't question it. After explaining, Han Yi said solemnly, "Furthermore, when you go on this mission, you must stay with your companions and form teams. The more people, the better. You also need to have cooperation, and purchase more spiritual talismans. Communication, attack, escape, and defense types all need to be prepared for emergencies. Lastly, do not be greedy for demon beast corpses. If you complete the mission, leave immediately without any delay and return at once." Han Yi told them one by one the main points he had concluded. After saying all this, he still felt that his words were somewhat pale and didn't touch the core of the matter, so he added another sentence. However, no matter what you encounter or who you encounter, the most reliable thing is your own strength, including realm, magic power, magical weapons, spiritual talismans, and formations. Arming yourself is the top priority, and everything else is just icing on the cake. After this conversation, Luo Yunzhou and Yan Ru seemed to be pondering. At least in terms of experience, the two of them had definitely gained some, but as for how much they gained, Han Yi didn't know. This meal didn't last long, as the two of them still had to rush to prepare for other things. A moment later, Han Yi left Yi Xian building with 2 bottles of spirit wine and returned to his courtyard. Han Yi activated the formation in the courtyard, then entered the quiet room to concentrate on breaking the restriction on the Chenkin bag. This time, there were no accidents. 3 days later, as the last thin layer of divine sense restriction dissipated, Han Yi's divine sense entered the Chenkin bag without any obstacles for the first time. In the next instant, he let out a short exclamation. It wasn't that there were too many treasures in the Chenkin bag, but unexpectedly, there was only a square purple jade box about 30 centimeters in length inside. Instead of taking out the jade box first, Han Yi measured the size of the Chenkin bag, and his face couldn't help but show joy. The volume of this Chenkin bag was about 50 meters in diameter and the whole space was round in shape. The purple jade box was suspended in the center of the circle. Han Yi's divine sense wrapped around the jade box and took it out. Inside the quiet room, Han Yi opened the jade box, and his eyebrows slightly furrowed. In the jade box was an object that he didn't recognize, lying inside. It was a flower, a blood-colored flower, with 3 petals, all of which were blood-colored, and mysterious patterns on the petals. Upon opening the jade box, a fragrance filled the air. As Han Yi smelled it, his whole body shook, and his inner magic power suddenly started running wildly. Even some of the innate shackles within his body seemed to have loosened a little. At the same time, a terrifying evil aura suddenly erupted. This evil aura was extremely pure and complex, as if it could freeze Han Yi's soul in an instant. Heavenly treasure. Shock and wonder burst in Han Yi's eyes, and in a flash, the lid of the box was immediately closed at a lightning-fast speed and quickly put into the Chenkin bag. This blood flower, enclosed in this mysterious purple jade box, must be to prevent its medicinal potency from dissipating. With just a sniff earlier, Han Yi had already grasped the terrifying powers of this blood flower. In addition, the evil aura it invisibly exuded all demonstrated the flower's mysterious and strange nature. Only now did Han Yi realize that using the Chenkin bag to specifically hold this purple jade box wasn't ordinary. But, what exactly is this flower? Han Yi pondered for a moment and suddenly slapped his forehead. Just because I don't know doesn't mean other people do not. Moreover, I can't directly ask someone, but I can look up information. With that said, Han Yi vaguely sensed the importance of this blood flower to him. That one sniff earlier had loosened some invisible shackles within his body, making it feel lighter. Although it was unclear what had changed within his body, it was definitely for the better. This blood flower was worth taking the time to study. Of course, the Xuanden sect had a scripture collection hall, which was different from the scripture transmission hall, as the books here were not about cultivation techniques or magic skills. Instead, they recorded everyday martial arts, breakthrough experiences of sect disciples, travel experiences, experiences from certain battlefields, anecdotes of a golden core supreme elder who had traveled through Dakion and even the Eastern Sea, Northern Wilderness, Southern Border, and Western Desert. Han Yi recalled that before he had transmigrated, his previous self had been obsessed with this material for a while, trying to glimpse any immortal affinity from it. Little did he know that the books here had already been read through, and even if there were immortal affinities, they would have already been taken by others, leaving none for him. How to resist the temptations of heavenly demons during the breakthrough from the 3rd to 4th stage of Qi cultivation, was a book written by a disciple at the 4th stage of Qi cultivation. My 108 Days at the Fragrance Pavilion was written by a disciple at the 2nd stage of Qi cultivation. The Fragrance Pavilion mentioned in the book was the brothel of Dakion. Most likely the disciple was without prospects. Records of Demonic Encounters in the Eastern Sea was a collection of essays written by a nameless supreme elder, detailing various encounters with evil beasts and demon cultivators in the Eastern Sea. A detailed study of the Blood River was a book written by a Foundation establishment elder named Qi Shu. Qi Shu traveled west from Dakion for 10 years, observing and recording the strange occurrences of the Blood River. My 327 Days in the Devil's Lair was a relatively new book written by a disciple at the 8th stage of Qi cultivation who participated in the immortal demonic war in Chenzhou. Despite being at the 8th stage of Qi cultivation, the experiences recorded in the book were harrowing and life-threatening. Record of the First Inner and Outer Peak competition was a newer book divided into many chapters, each chapter providing commentary on one battle. Han Yi looked through it while shaking his head, finding many errors in the book's records. Weren't these leading people astray? Han Yi put it back on the shelf. Han Yi flipped through each book, occasionally stopping to read, finding them quite interesting. With his current spiritual sense, it would only take 3 breaths' time to imprint an entire book in his heart. This row of books mainly contained records and essays by sect cultivators. Some were correct, some were wrong, with the sect not bothering to manage them, only collecting them. Han Yi moved to the second row, which was a collection of worldly martial arts. Heavenly Cripple Leg, Sullied Sky Technique, Iron Wall Fist, Iron Slicing Blade Technique, Red Sand Palm, Plum Blossom Steps. These techniques held no reference value for him, so he skipped them. The third row contained introductions to the various forces of the Yuheng world, including Dakan, Dakion, Holy Lands, Sects, Secret Realms, Forbidden Areas, and Cave Heavens. At the 6th row, Han Yi stopped and looked at a book, his heart filled with anticipation. A collection of 108 wondrous flowers in the cultivation world. This book was exactly what he had been searching for. Han Yi picked it up solemnly, quickly flipping through the pages, and his gaze froze on the 76th page. On this page, a blood-red flower was illustrated, with 9 petals embellished with intricate patterns that resembled mysterious runes. An introduction was also provided at the top of the page. One of the wondrous flowers of the Yuheng world. Blood Bone Spirit Flower. Chapter 89. Root Bone Seeking Subscription 1/5. Translator. 549,690,339. The Cultivation World List of Miracle Flowers, ranked 76th, the Blood Bone Spirit Flower. This flower is initially bred in a blood fiend area, producing one petal every 10 years, and fully maturing in 90 years. A blood bone spirit flower with 9 petals is considered a perfect miracle flower. Compared to other miracle flowers, the 90-year growth of the blood bone spirit flower is quite short. Most miracle flowers take hundreds or even tens of thousands of years to be regarded as miracle flowers. The reason why the blood bone spirit flower can be listed, and not ranking at the very bottom, is because this miracle flower has an extremely strict growth condition. That is, every 10 years, it must be transplanted to another area with a different type of extreme fiend attributes. For each transplantation to a new extreme fiend area, it will grow an additional petal upon matured. Blood fiend, gold fiend, earth fiend, thunder fiend. Each transplantation is the beginning of a transformation. In the cultivation world, each extreme fiend area is extremely difficult to find. Only 3 9-petaled blood bone spirit flowers have appeared in the history of the Yuheng cultivation world after being transplanted to 9 locations. This miracle flower does not require an extremely long growth time but needs an exceedingly harsh environment. The one in Han Yi's Chenken bag has only 3 petals, which should have experienced 2 extreme fiend areas besides the blood fiend area. Han Yi continues to read carefully. The pages of this book record the origin, illustrations, case studies, special effects, and usage methods of the blood bone spirit flower. Han Yi scans it and quickly imprints all the information in his mind. Suddenly, his gaze stops and goes back to the description of the flower's special effect. In that instant, his expression is first slightly dazed, followed by doubt, then showing bewilderment. From bewilderment, surprise emerges, mixed with disbelief, which turns into shock. Finally, a trace of ecstasy can be seen in his rapidly shrinking pupils. These emotions appear on his face one after another in an instant. As the complex emotions end with a trace of ecstasy emerging in his eyes, his body, standing in front of the bookshelf, even starts trembling slightly. This ecstasy, which leads to trembling, is almost the first time it has appeared since he arrived in this world. The talent, it's actually the talent. Just as Han Yi speaks, he suddenly stops and doesn't finish his sentence. Moreover, he quickly closes the book with a snap. 7 meters away, an outer sect disciple in a gray robe passes by, glances at Han Yi, sees him wearing a dark blue robe, and knows he's an inner sect disciple. The passerby shows respect in their eyes and after looking briefly turns to walk in another direction. At the same row of bookshelves, a female cultivator in a dark blue robe, representing the inner sect disciples, looks at Han Yi with curiosity. As they make eye contact, she sees nothing unusual and shifts her gaze away. These are the 2 closest people, and the others are even farther away. If they were spying, it would be impossible for them to guess Han Yi's true intention within such a short amount of time. Invisibly, Han Yi breathes a sigh of relief. He puts the miracle flower catalog back, moves forward 2 steps casually, and picks up a volume of True Interpretation of Skills, naturally opening it. His gaze lands on the pages, but his mind cannot take in even a single word. At this moment, all his thoughts are focused on the effect of the blood bone spirit flower he just read. The core sentence is that it can enhance a cultivator's talent. What is talent? Simply put, it is the aptitude for cultivation predetermined at birth. The core of it lies in the body constitution and spiritual root. Body constitution refers to whether one's body is that of an ordinary person or a special one. Special body constitution, such as the legendary immortal spirit body, is akin to a genuine immortal's body from birth, being immortal, free from illness and disasters. Another example is the legendary sword spirit body, which is the best body constitution for cultivating as a sword immortal. Of course, cultivators with special body constitutions are extremely rare, 1 in tens of thousands. At least, Han Yi has never seen one, and in Xuanden sect, according to his knowledge, there is no officially recognized person with such a body constitution. As for spiritual roots, it is even easier to understand. One of the foundations of cultivation is the spiritual root. Those with spiritual roots can sense and absorb spirit energy. Everyone is born with spiritual roots. Spiritual roots are divided into false spiritual roots, true spiritual roots, heavenly spiritual roots, and variant spiritual roots, etc. Han Yi belongs to the category of false spiritual roots. His roots are slightly better than the worst false spiritual roots, having 4 attributes of spiritual roots. However, amongst them, the fire spirit root dominates, while the other spiritual roots are almost non-existent. Therefore, he only practices fire attribute magic skills. Moreover, affected by the other 3 types of spiritual roots, his fire spiritual root is also the weakest among cultivators. Otherwise, before his transmigration, the original owner would not have only reached the 2nd level of Qi cultivation after joining the Xuanden sect for several years. Furthermore, after transmigrating, it took Han Yi a long and arduous time, consuming a massive amount of spirit stones, to push his cultivation base to the 7th level of Qi cultivation. Had he not transmigrated, with the original owner's financial resources, struggling throughout his life, he would have, at best, only reached the 4th or 5th level of Qi cultivation, with absolutely no possibility of reaching the late stage of Qi cultivation. All of this stems from his most ordinary bones. In the cultivation world, he belongs to the kind that barely meets the entrance threshold. But now, by a stroke of chance, a miraculous flower happens to fall into his hands. The function of this miraculous flower is to actually enhance one's bones. This is the reason why Han Yi suddenly reveals a series of complex emotions, and finally, in astonishment, shows ecstatic joy. In the cultivation world, things that could enhance one's bones are extremely rare and precious, and moreover, these things cannot be bought with ordinary spirit stones. If someone were to discover that Han Yi has such a treasure in his possession, it would certainly cause a stir. So, his cautious attitude in the past has allowed him to quickly regain his composure, closing the book, and continuing to browse as if nothing had happened. Han Yi stayed in the scripture collection pavilion for half an hour before leaving with a composed expression. When he returned to his courtyard, closed the door, and activated the restriction, his facial expression could no longer be maintained, revealing excitement and agitation in his eyes. Taking out the purple jade box from the Chenkin bag, he opened it, and in a moment, the killing energy surged, but he quickly closed it again. It's still there, so it wasn't just my illusion. Han Yi put it back into the Chenkin bag, pacing back and forth in the quiet room, showing how excited he was at the moment. It took an entire tea's time before he forced himself to calm down. Although it's not a 9-petal flower, but a 3-petal one, so its effects must be greatly diminished. However, there's no doubt that the blood bone spirit flower will definitely enhance my bones. As long as my bones are improved, my future realm advancement will no longer be severely limited by my bones. But using this miraculous flower is not simple. Han Yi frowned slightly. The book in the scripture collection pavilion also recorded the use of the blood bone spirit flower. As it is an extremely evil flower, it cannot be taken directly but needs to be refined with extremely yang spiritual items. The book listed several options, such as pure yang spirit liquid, supreme flame profound fruit, and earth core spirit pulp. These extremely yang spiritual items, although far from being miraculous, are all extremely expensive. After thinking for a moment, Han Yi's furrowed brows suddenly relaxed. He realized that it was the 76th ranked miraculous item on the entire cultivation world's list of miracle flowers. If it were simple, how could it make the list? This made him feel relieved. No matter what, he would try his best to consume this miraculous flower. Even if the process was difficult, he would definitely overcome it and face the challenge head-on. Chapter 90. Extreme Yang Spiritual Items Seeking Subscription 2/5. Translator. 549,690,339. The next day, Han Yi left the courtyard and headed straight for the 9 Dragons shop. If he had any channels to buy these extremely positive spiritual objects, then the sect platform would be the most likely. After all, the Xuanden sect's influence was so vast, and many high-level pills required extremely positive spiritual objects as their main or auxiliary materials. The second channel would be the well-supported shops like the 9 Dragons shop. Han Yi's first choice was the second channel, that is, the 9 Dragons shop. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he did not want to attract attention openly. Upon seeing He Fangwei, Han Yi got straight to the point. Manager He, does your shop sell extremely positive spiritual objects? After many transactions of buying and selling magical tools, He Fangwei now paid more attention to Han Yi. Seeing Han Yi, a smile spread across his face. Yes, of course. Although extremely positive spiritual objects are rare, there is still some stock in the Xuanden sect. After all, many high-level pills require extremely positive spiritual objects, such as the Foundation Establishment pill. Aren't you planning to refine the foundation establishment pill? He Fengwei jokingly probed. Manager, he is joking. I am just a small chi cultivation disciple. How could I possibly refine the foundation establishment pill? Besides, I don't have the pill formula for the foundation establishment pill. If manager he had it, he could sell it to me at a friendly price and save it for later use. Han Yi countered with a probe. He Fengwei laughed and returned to the subject. You're kidding, right? By the way, which extremely positive spiritual object do you need? What extremely positive spiritual objects does your store have? Han Yi did not directly name them but let He Fengwei list them out, so that no matter how wide He Fengwei's supernatural powers were, he could not possibly guess what he needed the extremely positive spiritual objects for. He Fengwei thought for a moment and said, "Fellow Taoist, please wait. Extremely positive spiritual objects are extremely precious, and I never carry them with me to avoid accidents." With that, He Fengwei left the quiet room and headed deeper into the Nine Dragons shop. It took a quarter of an hour before he returned. This time, his expression was a bit more solemn. Next, he took 3 jade bottles and a red jade box from his storage bag. This bottle contains red rock pulp, which is the most commonly used extremely positive spiritual object by alchemists, but its extremely positive effect is relatively average. This bottle contains dragon bone essence, which is extracted from earth dragon's heart veins, extremely rigid and extremely positive. The effect is excellent. This bottle is pure yang spirit liquid. There are 8 drops of spirit liquid inside, and each drop's effect is equivalent to 1 bottle of red rock pulp. If you use it, you need to pay attention to the dosage. If you exceed the limit, it might have the opposite effect. Fellow Taoist, please remember this. This box contains a fire blood heart Ganoderma lucidum, which is also an extremely positive spiritual object. However, before using it, you must first remove its blood and gore energy. Fellow Taoist, this branch of the Nine Dragons shop currently only has these 4 extremely positive spiritual objects. If they don't meet your needs, you can mention your requirements, and I will try to get more. What do you think? Han Yi's gaze swept from left to right, seeming hesitant. In reality, he had already decided on the pure yang spirit liquid, as this was the extremely positive spiritual object stated in the record book. Han Yi didn't want to risk making a mistake, so he wouldn't choose the others. However, Han Yi could not show such clear intent. Manager He, please introduce the prices of these spiritual items, and I will reconsider. He Fengwei did not seem to have any doubts. Red rock pulp, 1 bottle, 1000 mid-grade spirit stones. Dragon bone essence, 1 bottle, 3500 mid-grade spirit stones. Pure yang spirit liquid, 1 bottle, 10,000 mid-grade spiritual stones. Fire blood heart Ganoderma lucidum, 1 stock, 2800 mid-grade spiritual stones. As soon as these words were said, Han Yi was dumbfounded, dumbstruck on the spot. Even the cheapest red rock pulp required 1000 mid-grade spiritual stones. To put this into perspective, in the Xuanden sect, over 99% of the chi cultivation stage disciples couldn't pull together 1000 mid-grade spiritual stones even if they gathered all their possessions. The best way to demonstrate the purchasing power of 1000 mid-grade spiritual stones is by comparing it to the price range of top-grade magical treasures. These start at 1000 mid-grade spiritual stones. In other words, 1000 mid-grade spiritual stones can buy the lowest grade top magical treasure. Even if it's the lowest grade, it's still a top magical treasure. It's simply sky-high pricing. Apparently noticing Han Yi's shock, He Fengwei calmly added, "Friend, don't think it's too expensive." Expensive, but for a good reason. This is not an ordinary spirit liquid essence, but an extreme yang spiritual item. Each drop can exert excellent effects when used in pill refining. Under normal circumstances, chi cultivation disciples wouldn't use extreme yang spiritual items, they're more suitable for foundation establishment stage. So, the price is understandably astronomical for chi cultivation disciples. However, for a friend like you, I believe it shouldn't be a problem. He Fengwei said with a suggestive smile. Han Yi nearly cursed, as he had no more than 500 mid-grade spiritual stones on him. He initially thought that the amount of spiritual stones he had would allow him to cultivate without worry for a short time. He never expected that he would need to spend at least 1000 mid-grade spiritual stones in the blink of an eye. No, as this concerned his own foundations and future cultivation, Han Yi will not choose the red rock pulp. Instead, he hopes to buy the pure yang spirit liquid. In addition to the 500 mid-grade spiritual stones and 7,000 low-grade spiritual stones on him at the moment, he also had a Chenkin bag, 5 unopened storage bags, a top-grade magical treasure golden light shuttle, an upper-level top-rated sword tool shadow-bearing sword, a set of mid-grade magical treasure daggers, wind demon daggers, and over a dozen spiritual talismans, including 2 yin thunder talismans. He could sell the golden light shuttle and the Chenkin bag, as they were the most valuable items on him. However, Han Yi doubted whether selling both the golden light shuttle and Chenkin bag could accumulate 10,000 mid-grade spiritual stones. Suddenly, Han Yi had an idea and looked at He Fangwei. Storekeeper He, you just said there are 8 drops of pure yang spirit liquid in this bottle, and each drop is equivalent to 1 bottle of red rock pulp. What if I only want to buy 1 or a few drops of pure yang spirit liquid instead of the whole bottle? Would that be possible? Han Yi stared determinedly at He Fangwei. He Fangwei nodded with a smile, not expecting Han Yi to think of this. Your eyes truly hold wisdom, my friend. Among the 3 other extreme yang spiritual items, they cannot be split up for sale. Only this bottle of pure yang spirit liquid can be sold separately. There are 8 drops of spirit liquid in this bottle, and the price of each drop is 1,250 mid-grade spiritual stones. Extreme yang spiritual items can be sold by the bottle or by the drop. For example, red rock pulp is not easy to divide, so it's sold as 1 bottle. Yet, pure yang spirit liquid can indeed be traded drop by drop. Upon hearing this, Han Yi indeed felt a sigh of relief in his heart. If he had 9 petals of blood bone spirit flower, he might need a whole bottle of pure yang spirit liquid. However, he had only 3 petals of the strange flower. The usage instructions in the book didn't specify how much extreme yang spiritual item is needed for a certain number of petals. So, Han Yi planned to buy as many drops as possible, just in case. After some careful consideration, Han Yi quickly decided to sell the Chenkin bag. After all, it was just a storage space, and although it was more advanced than the storage bags, it had the least usefulness for him at this stage. Once he advances to the 8th stage of Qi cultivation, he'd be able to initially refine the top-grade magical treasure golden light shuttle and use it to display its 7 layers of power at Qi cultivation stage 9. Then, after advancing to the foundation establishment stage, it can also be used. In the long run, the role of this top-grade magical treasure far exceeds that of the Chenkin bag. Naturally, Han Yi knew how to choose his priorities. Han Yi didn't hesitate any longer and looked straight at He Fangwei before speaking cautiously. Storekeeper He, I wonder if your esteemed store accepts Chenkin bags for sale. Chapter 91, 3 drops seeking subscription 3/5. Translator, 549,690,339. Chenkin bag. Upon hearing this, He Fangwei's eyes widened in surprise. Chenkin bag, you have one on you. No wonder he was astonished. Even ordinary foundation establishment stage cultivators might not have a Chenkin bag. It was a storage item as well as a symbol of one's status. Generally, only those at the later stages of the foundation establishment stage or golden core stage would have a Chenkin bag. Seeing Han Yi nod, He Fangwei's appraisal of Han Yi was once again refreshed in his eyes. Fellow Taoist, do you want to sell the Chenkin bag? He asked again, uncertain. Han Yi nodded in silence, and took out the Chenkin bag. Before coming to the red sun fang, he had taken out the purple jade box containing the blood bone spirit flower from the Chenkin bag and placed it in his storage pouch. He Fangwei received the Chenkin bag with both hands, carefully examining it. A moment later, He Fangwei confirmed, indeed, it's a Chenkin bag. Although its inner space is not large and belongs to the lowest level of Chenkin bags, it is still a Chenkin bag. Tisk, tisk, you really have a lot of treasures on you, fellow Taoist. Han Yi's expression remained unchanged. Manager He, please give an evaluation. He Fangwei didn't immediately give the price but instead stood up. Fellow Taoist, please wait a moment, I need to consult about this. After saying that, he left the room just like before. After the time it took to drink, He Fangwei returned. Fellow Taoist, is this Chenkin bag prepared for the trade of the 4 extreme yang spiritual items you just brought out? Han Yi nodded. That was his purpose. Otherwise, why would he take out the Chenkin bag? Since it's a trade, it's equivalent to a buy and sell. Since you, fellow Taoist, have come here so many times, it shows that you trust the 9 Dragons firm. This transaction, my master said, will be given the greatest discount possible to you. Just now, I heard that you are interested in the pure yang spirit liquid. Good choice. Among these spiritual items, the pure yang spirit liquid is the most expensive, and it has the best compatibility. When used for pill refining, accidents are the least likely to happen. It is widely loved. At this point, He Fengwei's expression became serious. So, if you choose to exchange for pure yang spirit liquid, you can exchange for 3 drops of spirit liquid. He Fengwei made a gesture of 3 with his fingers. This is the biggest discount already. This deal will be considered a favor from the 9 Dragons firm and may even lose some handling fees, all to maintain a relationship of trust with you, fellow Taoist. What do you think? Han Yi didn't believe a single word He Fengwei said about losing handling fees. He had heard, not making any money at least 4 times from He Fengwei. However, he didn't show any disbelief as he sincerely replied, I'd like to thank Manager He and the esteemed shop owner. Since they were both old foxes, they could remain friends without exposing each other. No more deals could be made if they uncovered each other's falsehoods. Han Yi didn't want to find a new place for transactions, as building trust between them wasn't easy. Seeing Han Yi nod and agree, He Fengwei was delighted, and the transaction was successful. Chenkin bag, such a valuable item, fellow Taoist, you are really. He Fengwei found it difficult to choose the right words to describe the situation. Han Yi suddenly had a thought. Manager He, why do you say that the Chenkin bag is so valuable? Without fear of Han Yi changing his mind, He Fengwei held the small Chenkin bag in his hand, a gleam in his eyes as he spoke. Fellow Taoist, you may not be aware. The so-called Chenkin bag is a bag that contains the universe within. The reason it is so valuable is not because its space is large enough, but because it involves another, even more valuable item. Another more valuable item? Han Yi asked, puzzled. Yes, that is, magical items. Upon mentioning magical items, He Fengwei couldn't help but sigh. That is a magical item. Though there is only a 1-word difference between magical items and magical tools, their powers are as incomparable as the sun is to an ant. General strong cultivators in the foundation establishment stage, and even golden core and early nascent soul stage have magical items. The reason magical items are related to Chenkin bags is because the storage conditions for magical items are strict. Storing them in a storage bag is not impossible, but can cause damage to the magical items and affect their power. However, using a Chenkin bag to store them would not pose this problem. Fellow Taoist, don't ask why. Even this old man doesn't know why. Perhaps only foundation establishment stage cultivators who possess magical items would understand the reason. After He Fengwei finished, Han Yi still had some doubts, but he now had a preliminary understanding of the connection between magical items and Chenkin bags. For a deeper explanation, he would naturally have the opportunity to understand once he reached the foundation establishment stage. A moment later, Han Yi walked out of the 9 Dragons firm, his calm face hiding his surging excitement. Even the items he possessed were too important, related to his immortal path, and he was extremely vigilant. Leaving the Red Sun Fang, just as he had reached the Azure Dragon Peak, he encountered a middle-aged man. The man was dressed in white and stood at the most perilous edge of Azure Dragon Peak. This wasn't Azure Dragon Cliff, where visitors could admire the cloud sea, but a protruding, steep, strange rock. Even from a distance, Han Yi sensed the man's gaze on him. It was clear from his gaze that he was waiting for Han Yi here. Although Han Yi was eager to return to his courtyard and make use of the extreme yang spiritual items to refine the blood bone spirit flower and consume it to transform his aptitude, he still approached the middle-aged man respectfully. This middle-aged man was the Xuandan sect Master Yuan Shun, whom he had met 3 years before. Why would Master Yuan want to see me? I haven't encountered any blood god sect spies, nor have I exposed them. I've been following the rules and regulations in the sect. I can't think of any reason. I've only recently gone to Evil Mountain Range, but I haven't done anything out of line. No, I did kill several blood god sect cultivators. Could Master Yuan have been there? That's right. Just now, I sold the Chenkin bag and bought pure yang spirit liquid. Could it be this matter that caught his attention? Did he arrive so quickly? At this moment, Han Yi's mind was filled with various thoughts and speculations. But none of them were apparent on his face. He stepped forward and saluted respectfully. Disciple Han Yi, paying respects to sect master. Yuan Shun stood on the steep strange rock, his white clothes not billowing in the wind around him. Instead, the space around him was calm, without a trace of turbulence. In the outer area of Evil Mountain Range, the one being chased by Han Shuxiao was you, right? Yuan Shun looked at Han Yi and spoke. His gaze fell upon Han Yi's shadow-bearing sword, and a glint appeared in his eyes. Han Yi's heart suddenly relaxed. So it was about that matter. I also believe it was me. Han Yi didn't deny it. Able to be chased by Han Shushao and escape by chance, should I say you have good luck or strong power? This time, Yuan Shun framed his question with a hint of doubt. Chapter 92, Metamorphosis Seeking. Subscription 4/5. Translator. 549,690,339. Han Yi didn't respond immediately. After pondering for a moment, he slowly said, "Junior brother is just lucky. In terms of strength, there's still a significant gap between me and Han Shushao." Han Yi didn't mean that his strength was weak, but when compared to Han Shushao, there indeed was a gap between their strengths. According to his estimation, it was important to note that he was only at the 7th layer of Qi cultivation, while Han Shushao, one of Blood God sect's Blood God's children, was a Qi cultivating cultivator of legend. Yuan Shun looked at Han Yi unexpectedly, feeling that the junior brother in front of him had gained an inexplicable confidence compared to 3 years ago. This touch of confidence was precisely what he hoped to see. Good, very good. 3 consecutive goods sufficiently reflected Yuan Shun's current mood. Just as Han Yi thought Yuan Shun would ask about what happened within Evil Mountain Range or directly ask why Han Shushao chased him, Yuan Shun merely turned his head and instructed him to cultivate diligently. He then took a step forward and leisurely crossed over the cloud sea, stepping into the immortal mist surrounding Xuanden Peak, disappearing without a trace. Standing in place, Han Yi thought for a moment, somewhat confused about Yuan Shun's purpose for coming to find him this time. Did he really just come to give him 3 goods as praise? For a golden core stage cultivator like Yuan Shun, this seemed too childish. After thinking for a moment without any gain, Han Yi simply didn't ponder about it. After all, Yuan Shun was the Xuanden sect leader, and if he could easily guess the purpose of Yuan Shun's actions, then there would be a problem. Forget it. At last, Han Yi took one last look at Xuanden Peak, which was surrounded by immortal mist, and turned to leave, heading towards his own courtyard. After adjusting his breath for a whole day, he solemnly took out the purple jade box and pure yang spirit liquid, placing the 8-sided golden pill furnace at the center of the quiet room. Then, he took a deep breath, ignited the Dan fire, and began refining medicine. Refining medicine was the basis of alchemy skill. Most alchemists started their alchemy careers by refining medicine. When pills and medicine were combined, the refinement would be considered successful. Although Han Yi was refining medicine this time, he was even more serious about it than any other time he had refined a pill. 3 drops of pure yang spirit liquid should be enough by my estimation to refine this blood bone spirit flower with only 3 petals. To avoid any unexpected, I'll first fuse 2 petals and adjust the amount of pure yang spirit liquid based on the medicine's reaction. This way, everything should proceed without any issues. Han Yi immediately put his plan into action. Igniting Dan fire, adjusting spirit sand, adding spirit stones, using his spiritual power to carry the spiritual medicine, he proceeded to the step of adding spiritual medicine. When adding spiritual medicine, he took out a small jade knife and cut off 2 petals from the blood bone spirit flower, tossing them into the pill furnace. Next, controlling his spiritual power, he quickly covered the 2 petals of blood bone spirit flower. Under the spirit coal, the Dan fire warmed the golden 8-sided pill furnace, with mid-grade spirit stones placed on all 8 corners to ensure an abundance of spirit energy. Inside the pill furnace, the blood bone spirit flower quickly dissolved into a cluster of blood-colored viscous substance. At the moment of complete dissolution, although Han Yi's inner heart was extremely nervous, his hands and feet remained calm and collected, swiftly taking the jade bottle with the pure yang spirit liquid and pouring a drop into the pill furnace with the help of his spiritual power. In the next moment, the recently dissolved blood bone spirit flower immediately erupted in a thick wave of extremely condensed evil energy. As this evil energy erupted, the drop of pure yang spirit liquid had already touched the dissolved spiritual flower, enveloping the evil energy. However, that drop of pure yang spirit liquid was insufficient to completely dissolve the evil energy, with nearly half of the evil energy still rampaging. Having been prepared earlier, Han Yi carefully monitored the situation inside the pill furnace with his mind. Seeing the circumstances, he controlled the second drop of the already poured spirit liquid to fall into the viscous substance inside the pill furnace. At the same time, through the strong calculation in his heart during the process of the first drop of spirit liquid integrating with the spiritual flower, he had already measured the ratio between the 2. One petal required approximately 0.9 drops of pure yang spirit liquid. After the second drop of spirit liquid fell into the pill furnace, Han Yi simultaneously added the third petal of spiritual flower, followed closely after the second drop of spirit liquid and melted into it. He then separated the third drop of spirit liquid into 7 parts, letting it fall together with the third petal of the spirit flower into the semi-viscous spiritual flower liquid. The remaining 3 parts of the spirit liquid were placed back into the jade bottle. Afterward, his mind constantly monitored the changes within the pill furnace. When the second drop, the third drop, and the third petal of the spirit liquid spirit flower merged into the most primitive viscous substance, that evil aura suddenly stagnated and then it dissipated into nothingness. At the same time, the blood-colored viscous substance emitted a mysterious fragrance, which when sniffed by Han Yi, caused his entire body to tremble. Next, he hesitated not and lifted the lid of the pill furnace, drew the blood-colored viscous substance up with a sweep of his spiritual power, opened his mouth, and swallowed it completely into his stomach. That's right, consumption of the blood-bone spirit flower was simple at its essence, as it was an extraordinary flower of heaven and earth. All that needed to be done was to dissolve its evil aura with a yang spiritual object, leaving behind its most refined form of spiritual medicine, which could be swallowed directly. In the quiet chamber, when the spiritual medicine was ingested, Han Yi felt a surge of mysterious energy erupting within his body. However, he was prepared and controlled this energy, running it along the circulation trajectory of the fire gang Zongong. At the same time, in both hands, he clasped medium-grade spirit stones, infusing the spirit energy into the mysterious energy within his body. Han Yi felt as if his body underwent a transformation, something within started to loosen, shatter, and metamorphose as the mysterious energy gradually lessened. Within the quiet chamber, Han Yi's transformation proceeded slowly and steadfastly. In the outside world, the wind roared, and clouds billowed. 3 days later, the second batch of inner sect disciples boarded the immortal ship and headed to the Evil Mountain Range. 1 month later, it was the turn of the third batch of inner sect disciples. 2 months later, the task of hunting evil beasts in the Evil Mountain Range came to a complete conclusion. 3 months later, the heaven, earth, and human rankings were officially unveiled and open for challenges. The earth ranking for inner sect disciples received great attention. On the first day, a chi-cultivating cultivator who had returned from the Evil Mountain Range with a murderous aura defeated 3 8th level, 7 9th level, and 1 9th level peak disciples on the combat platform. Overnight, this inner sect disciple named Yu Wu became famous. On the second day, people realized that Yu Wu had not left the combat platform. He intended to continuously remain seated on the combat platform and accept challenges from all chi-cultivating cultivators. That day, he defeated 12 9th level cultivators, of which 3 were at the chi cultivation peak. For a time, the legendary chi cultivator, Yu Wu's name spread throughout the inner and outer peaks. It even alarmed the higher-ups of the sect, and it was rumored that even the sect master had inquired about the matter. ? Half a year later, Azure Dragon Peak, Yi Xian Building. The spirit wine was warm, and 4 people were seated together. Chu Jinmo, Yan Ru, Luo Yunzhou, and Qi Hong. The earth ranking, it's changing so fast, sighed Luo Yunzhou. At this moment, Luo Yunzhou was completely different from half a year ago. If he didn't still have the same appearance, Han Yi would hardly dare to recognize him. On his face, a scar extended from the bottom of his eye, across his cheek, and down to the base of his ear, giving him a more ferocious appearance. This scar was left by an encounter in the Evil Mountain Range half a year ago. After the life or death experience, instead of using spiritual medicine to heal the scar, he deliberately kept it as a reminder. By the way, Chu Junior sister, when are you going to challenge the combat platform? Qi Hong, who had withdrawn his gaze from the cloud sea outside, looked at Chu Jinmo and asked softly. Chapter 93, Earth Ranking Seeking. Subscription 5/5. Translator. 549,690,339. The question raised by Qi Hong was also a doubt in Yan Ru's mind. Since the Earth ranking began half a year ago, virtually all the disciples of the inner peak had gone to the combat platform. After all, this new policy stipulated that all disciples needed to participate in at least 3 combat platform matches within a year. This was just a requirement for the number of times. No one would be foolish enough to disobey such a basic requirement. Chu Jinmo just smiled and shook his head. The time is not yet ripe, let's talk about it later. Qi Hong didn't ask further. She knew Chu Jinmo's personality. Although he seemed easygoing, once he set his mind on something, he would be unwavering and would not change it easily. By the way, has junior brother Han come out of closed-door training yet? Seeing that no one had anything to say for a moment, Chi-hong continued. Junior brother Han is really a hard-working cultivator. In the blink of an eye, he has been in closed-door training for half a year. I wonder if he has gained anything. I guess when he comes out, he'll be shocked by the current prosperity of the sect. Luo Yunzhou glanced at her and answered. He should not have come out yet. I went to his courtyard to find him the other day. The formation was activated in the courtyard, and there was a sign hanging at the front door indicating it wasn't good to disturb him, so I just left a message at the door. However, junior brother Han wouldn't be surprised when he comes out. He's very steady. What's the use of being steady? Chi-hong smiled. There is only one person in the top 100 of the Earth ranking who is at the Qi cultivation stage 7, and that is achieved through using a top-notch high-grade magical instrument, barely ranking at 99th place. If he is only steady with his cultivation still at the 7th stage, then it's of no use. Chi-hong sighed emotionally. In her tone, there was no intention to belittle Han Yi, as everyone present was also at the Qi cultivation stage 7. This was a sense of helplessness in the face of reality. Chu Jinmo and Luo Yunzhou looked at Chi-hong simultaneously with a strange expression in their eyes. They didn't say anything, but their gazes made Chi-hong feel puzzled. What, am I wrong? Qi cultivation stage 7 is indeed difficult to break into the top 100. Luo Yunzhou showed a look of reminiscence, as if recalling an astonishing scene, and drained his jade cup of spirit wine. Indeed, Qi cultivation stage 7 is just too weak. After that, he changed the topic. I heard that senior brother Yuwu's Qi cultivation realm has already reached the legendary realm. In 3 years, he will complete the Immortal Path Foundation building. I am envious. When they mentioned Yuwu, the faces of the other 3 people changed, even Chu Jinmo showed a complex expression. More than 3 months ago, senior brother Yuwu defeated more than 20 Qi cultivation stage 9 cultivators in just 2 days, including several peak stage 9 cultivators. He truly astonished the whole sect. And more than 3 months later, which is today, he is about to take another step forward, approaching the Immortal Path Foundation building. How can we not be envious? Chi-hong's eyes were filled with awe, envy, and admiration. I heard that even the sect master personally summoned him. That's the pride of an immortal. Don't they have the title of Blood God's child in the Blood God sect? I heard from some senior brothers that they are also preparing to give senior brother Yuwu a title. It's just not yet decided. A title, Mysterious God's Son, Luo Yunzhou suddenly exclaimed. Mysterious God's Son, what's that? Suddenly, a voice came leisurely, and with the appearance of this voice, a young man dressed in a dark blue robe walked slowly towards them. Everyone turned to look and stood up. Junior brother Han. Yan Ru greeted. Junior brother Han, you're finally willing to come out. I missed you so much. Luo Yunzhou looked like he hated not being able to rush up and hug Han Yi. You're here, Chu Jinmo said softly, smiling, his voice still ethereal. As for Chi-hong, who had a rather ordinary relationship with Han Yi, she simply nodded her head in greeting without speaking. The person who came was naturally Han Yi. After taking the blood-bone spirit flower, he didn't immediately leave seclusion, but continued in isolation for half a year. Only after completely understanding and digesting his gains did he leave seclusion at a leisurely pace. As soon as he came out, he noticed the message left by Luo Yunzhou at the entrance of his courtyard and hurried over. Everyone took their seats, but thankfully the jade-colored table was large enough that adding a chair did not make it overly crowded. Senior brother Luo, what exactly is the mysterious God's son you mentioned earlier? Luo Yunzhou explained with a smile, and added at the end, I randomly made a name based on the Blood God sect's naming convention. Don't take it too seriously, junior brother Han. Yuwu is really incredible. Han Yi sighed but felt no envy in his heart. Everyone's character and situation were different, leading to different ways of handling affairs. Yuwu dared to step forward and claim a title almost as strong as the strongest Qi cultivation stage disciple of the Xuandan sect, which undoubtedly proved that he was fearless. But Han Yi was different, being cautious ever since he crossed over. Next, the group discussed Yuwu's situation, and Han Yi came to know that this legendary senior brother actually possessed the relatively rare heavenly spirit root, and it was even a fire spirit root type. Han Yi also had a fire spirit root, but his was a false one. In addition to the fire spirit root, he had 3 other types of spirit roots, gold, wood, and earth spirit roots. These 3 spirit roots, however, only dragged him down without any positive effects, making his root bones seem extremely ordinary. But Yu Wu was different. He was born with only 1 spirit root, the fire spirit root. This situation was called heavenly spirit root, which made his fire spirit root very pure, greatly surpassing others in terms of cultivation speed and the power of techniques. By the way, senior brother Luo, senior sister Yan, and senior sister Qi, what happened when you went to the Evil Mountain Range? When Han Yi went into seclusion, the trio headed to the Evil Mountain Range as he was still digesting the blood bone spirit flower. Luo Yunzhou sighed, "Don't mention it, it was really bad luck. Look at this scar on my face, it's from that time. I keep it as a reminder, damn it." Yan Ru's eyes flashed with killing intent. The cultivators of the blood god sect are indeed stronger than us, but this gap is no longer insurmountable. As long as we use the right methods, we can also defeat them. Han Yi listened with great interest as the 2 took turns recounting past events. A moment later, he suddenly thought of another matter. By the way, have all of you been on the combat platform? The new policy requires everyone to be there at least 3 times a year, and this is a strict rule. I've been on it, but the competition for the top 100 on the Earth ranking is extremely fierce. I'm now ranked 332nd, which is quite disappointing. Speaking of this, Luo Yunzhou felt a little discouraged. He considered himself a genius, but he was not considered outstanding among the inner peak disciples. After chatting, Han Yi learned that besides Chu Jinmo, everyone else frequently appeared on the combat platform. Yan Ru, who advanced to the 7th level of Qi cultivation later, was ranked 273rd, stronger than Luo Yunzhou. Qi Hong, on the other hand, was in the 600s. Among inner peak disciples, she was considered to have relatively average combat power. Junior brother Han, once you're on the combat platform, you'll realize how difficult it is to win a single match. First, you should try to make it into the top 900. According to our estimates, if you're ranked lower than 900th, there's a risk of being expelled from the inner peak and sent to the outer peak. Even the arrogant Qi Hong appeared somewhat disheartened when talking about the Earth ranking. Upon hearing this, Han Yi did not react, only drinking his wine. Chu Jinmo and Luo Yunzhou, however, looked at her again with strange expressions, making her feel like she had said something wrong. What, did I say something wrong again? Qi Hong frowned, feeling that something was off. Whenever she mentioned Han Yi, Chu Jinmo and Luo Yunzhou would look at her with a strange gaze. She glanced at Han Yi again and didn't think she had said anything wrong. Could there be some hidden information in this? Chapter 94. The True Immortal Path is in Sight. Subscription request 1/5. Translator. 549,690,339. Qi Hong didn't get an answer, but this curiosity remained unresolved. Therefore, she became increasingly interested in Han Yi. However, she didn't feel it appropriate to ask further, as it involved Han Yi's cultivation secrets. After finishing the spirit wine, everyone dispersed. Before leaving, Han Yi was stopped by Chu Jinmo. "Junior brother Han, I'll be leaving the sect for a while, so I'll have to return your favor when I come back," said Chu Jinmo. In Chu Jinmo's eyes, a strand of sword light emerged, faint as a strand of hair. As Han Yi gazed at her, he quickly averted his eyes. If he continued staring, although he wouldn't get hurt, he would definitely feel uncomfortable. "Sister Chu, will you be away for a long time on this trip?" Han Yi asked, his brows furrowed. He remembered that when he was still in the outer sect, Chu Jinmo had disappeared for some time. Knowing that it had to be something significant for Chu Jinmo to take the time to mention it. "Yes, I'm going to a place far in the north, and it will take a very long time," Chu Jinmo replied calmly, emanating a sense of etherealness. Han Yi nodded solemnly. "All right, I'll wait for your triumphant return, Sister Chu." Returning to his courtyard, Han Yi activated the formation and sat down in his meditation room. In front of him, a light red panel quietly appeared. Name: Han Yi. Lifespan: 34 135ths. Realm: late stage of Qi cultivation 43 100ths. Cultivation technique: Fire Gang Zon Gong proficient 39 100ths. Skills: Alchemy skill Fire is purely green 49 100ths. Spirit Void Finger Fire is purely green 73 100ths. Sword Control skill Fire is purely green 68 100ths. Light Body Technique Fire is purely green 96 100ths. Fire Shield skill Fire is purely green 23 100ths. Turtle Breath skill Fire is purely green 21 100ths. Departing Fire Sword formula enter the hall 69 100ths. Chi Observation skill enter the hall 12 100ths. Talisman Making skill beginner level 29 100ths. Closing square bracket. Compared to more than half a year ago, his proficiency in his original skills increased only slightly. However, a new skill had been added. Chi Observation skill enter the hall 12 100ths. After returning from the Evil Mountain range, Han Yi specifically practiced this technique. Chi Observation skill was a common, ordinary magic skill that could be purchased from the scripture transmission tower of the sect. Aside from the Chi Observation skill, the most significant change in his proficiency panel is his realm. Realm, late stage of Chi cultivation 43 100ths. 3.5 years ago, he had just entered the late stage of Chi cultivation, with a progress of 2 100ths. Half a year ago, before taking the Blood Bone Spirit Flower, his progress was 29 100ths. But now, just half a year later, Han Yi's cultivation base has reached the Chi cultivation level 7 at 43 100ths progress. In terms of progress, he had advanced his cultivation level by 14% in just 6 months, which could be described as terrifying. This meant that half a year of cultivation was equivalent to half of his previous 3 years' worth of cultivation, a difference of 3 times, and this didn't even take into account how the later stages of cultivation become more and more difficult. All of this was thanks to the Blood Bone Spirit Flower that Han Yi had consumed half a year ago. Although the proficiency panel did not show any data about the Blood Bone Spirit Flower, the rapid advancement of his cultivation was evidence that his body had undergone a profound transformation after consuming this spirit flower. In short, this miraculous flower, which could improve one's root bones, had increased Han Yi's root bones by more than 3 times. While this threefold increase may not seem like a lot, it meant that what would have taken him 10 years to reach a certain realm, now only takes 3.5 years. The essence of cultivation was to pursue immortality, and the improvement of his root bones gave Han Yi more confidence in his future immortal path. A true immortal path was within reach. If a comparison had to be made, before he consumed the spirit flower, his root bones were in line with the worst qualifications in the outer peak, belonging to the 4-attribute false spiritual root, which was the lowest threshold for the Xuanden sect to recruit outer sect disciples. Under normal circumstances, without having transmigrated, and without the proficiency panel, the original Han Yi would have had no chance of reaching the late stage of Chi cultivation in his lifetime. He would have lived in a major city after being sent out of the sect, spreading his branches and offspring, and stopping his cultivation at either the Chi cultivation level 3 or level 4. After his root bones were improved, his cultivation speed was now on par with that of inner sect disciples with true spiritual roots. According to his estimation, he probably had a better quality of 3-attribute true spiritual roots, like Luo Yunzhou. There was no other way, as his starting point was weak, and it was impossible to soar to the heavens in one step. If it had been a 9-petaled blood bone spirit flower, it might have been possible to directly improve to 2nd attribute true spiritual roots or even a single attribute heavenly spirit root. However, the miraculous flower only had 3 petals, and the transformation he was experiencing now was already enough to make him wake up laughing in his sleep. The path to immortality is long and begins today. Han Yi took a deep breath to suppress his excitement and focused on the choices he was facing at the moment. 4 months have passed since the Earth rankings have opened, and there are still 8 months left until the 1-year deadline. I only need to go on the combat platform 3 times before the 8-month deadline, so there's no need to rush. Han Yi didn't want to act high profile like Yu Wu, which was determined by his personality. All he needed to do was to keep the courtyard in the inner peak, which was a piece of cake for him now. Next, while cultivating, I need to focus on improving some of my skills and strive to break through to the next level. Sword control skill, light body technique, and departing fire sword formula. These 3 I will focus on for now. Han Yi's choices weren't random. Among them, the sword control and light body techniques were at the highest level of fire as purely green, while the departing fire sword formula was at the enter the hall level, not weak in increasing battle strength, so it should be promoted to fire as purely green as much as possible. After the battle at the Evil Mountain range, more than 70% of Han Yi's combat power relied upon his sword control skill. This skill was the most important of all. As for the light body technique, its current progress was at 96 100ths, closest to the next level. If he could advance, it would undoubtedly bring unexpected surprises. Having set his goals, Han Yi began to cultivate. This time, he didn't completely seclude himself from the world. Instead, he practiced while keeping an eye on the changes in the Earth rankings and occasionally went to Combat Peak to watch the fights on the combat platform. As his skills improved and his technique progressed, he found fewer and fewer useful experiences from the battles on the combat platforms, and his visits decreased accordingly. These mundane and rewarding days enticed Han Yi to completely immerse himself in cultivation. During this period, he picked 3 ordinary Qi cultivation level 7 opponents, and after defeating them on the platform, he didn't exhibit much dominance nor attract attention, thus completing the sect's required number of challenges. He wasn't very interested in the cultivation resources from the Earth rankings. What he was most eager for were the 5 unopened storage bags on his body, especially the resources in the 2 storage bags, which would far exceed what the sect could give him. One of them was obtained in Tianqing City from a cold-looking youth who possessed the high-quality magic weapon, Golden Light Shuttle. Being at the Qi cultivation level 8 with a high-quality magic weapon, that cultivator's identity must not be simple, and the storage bag would undoubtedly hold amazing treasures. The other one belonged to the cultivator with the spear in the Evil Mountain Range, who was suspected to be a descendant of a noble from the Dakion Immortal Country. His storage bag would also be extraordinary. Just as Han Yi thought that such days would continue until the 2nd year when the Earth rankings would be officially confirmed. Luo Yunzhou came to him. His face was full of suppressed anger. He had come for help. Chapter 95. Daofu City, seeking subscription 2/5. A cultivator family. Han Yi's eyes flashed, and he did not refuse, but quietly waited for Luo Yunzhou to elaborate. Yes. Luo Yunzhou gritted his teeth. My Luo family is a cultivator family in Daofu City, Luofeng Country. Although there are no foundation establishment stage cultivators in our family, my father is the head of the Luo family and a Qi cultivation stage cultivator. In Daofu City, we don't fear any other cultivator families. However, some time ago, my father went out and was attacked by a robbing cultivator. He was lucky to escape but suffered severe injuries. In Daofu City, the other 2 cultivator families pressured our Luo family to hand over our spirit field. That's the foundation of the Luo family. Without the spirit field, our Luo family will deteriorate into a secular family within 100 years. There might even be a risk of being annihilated due to our family's treasures attracting those coveting them. The Dakion authorities in Daofu City don't want the families to fight, causing chaos and affecting the common people. They are willing to mediate the dispute, but the decision is set to take place a month later. My father sent a letter calling me back to our family. Whether or not the spirit field can be saved will be determined at the mediation meeting a month from now. And the so-called mediation will, of course, follow the logic of the strongest. I had no other choice but to seek junior brother Han's help. Han Yi frowned, still puzzled. Senior brother Luo, your master is a foundation establishment stage cultivator, isn't it better for you to seek her help in this matter for a guaranteed result? This was Han Yi's question. After all, unlike him, Luo Yunzhou has a master, and his master Bai Wanqing is a foundation establishment stage cultivator. If Bai Wanqing was willing to help, a single trip should be enough to resolve the Luo family's crisis. Because the cultivator families competing in Daofu City are all Qi cultivation stage cultivator families, not foundation establishment stage cultivator families. Luo Yunzhou sighed. Junior brother Han, you may not know it. Our sect has regulations that no elder-level cultivators are allowed to interfere in matters regarding the cultivator families outside the sect where disciples are involved. In fact, it's not just a rule of the Xuandan sect, but a tacit agreement among all major sects in Dakion. The cultivator families in the Dakion region all have disciples in the major sects. If a conflict arises and a sect's backing is involved, it could easily escalate to a conflict between 2 sects. In the long run, it might even shake the foundation of Dakion. Of course, if the worldly cultivator family is the elder's own family, then their involvement would be a personal matter, unrelated to the sect affairs, and it would be acceptable. With Luo Yunzhou's explanation, Han Yi suddenly understood everything. He considered the options and finally nodded slowly. This trip would take less than a month, and as long as no foundation establishment stage cultivator took action, Han Yi would have no fear of anyone, not even of legendary Qi cultivation stage cultivators like Han Susuo of the Blood God sect. Refusing Luo Yunzhou's plea solely for the fear of leaving the mountain would be inappropriate, which would lead to damage to his inner heart. It would make it difficult to face the heavenly demon in the next breakthrough attempt. However, it wasn't just the question of his inner heart that made him accept Luo Yunzhou's plea, but the camaraderie they had established. He didn't want to just stand by and watch his friend in need. Seeing Han Yi nod in agreement, Luo Yunzhou looked delighted and completely relieved. With junior brother Han's help, we're sure to succeed. My Luo family will be saved. Don't worry, junior brother Han. If we can get through this crisis, my Luo family will give you the income of our spirit field for 10 years as a token of our gratitude for your help. Han Yi shook his head. Let's not talk about that now. We'll discuss it when we get to Daofu City. That day, Han Yi followed Luo Yunzhou to the outskirts of White Tiger Fang. An immortal ship called Survive Disaster was stationed there. Junior brother Han, don't misunderstand. I am not renting this ship solely for our use. It's just that this ship is heading to Luofeng country. The city where it's landing is not far from Daofu City. I thought I'd spend some money and take the trip. It's only a 3-day journey to Daofu City. Luo Yunzhou paid 300 spirit stones for both of them to board the ship. This amount was not too much for him, and he could afford it. Although Han Yi was wealthy, he did not offer to pay as it was a matter of attitude. Once aboard the ship, they waited for an hour before the Survive Disaster immortal ship slowly rose into the sky, breaking through the cloud sea and flying eastward. 3 days later, 2 figures entered Daofu City, heading straight to the Luo family. 7 days later, Daofu City, the Imperial Astronomical Agency. The Lu family and the Tang family had arrived to contend with the Luo family for the spirit field. Both of these families were also Qi cultivation stage cultivation families, with their strongest members at the 9th layer of Qi cultivation. Supporting this arbitration meeting was a foundation establishment stage cultivator from the Dakion official organization, the Imperial Astronomical Agency. He was an elderly cultivator with long white beard reaching his chest, and a pair of calm eyes without the usual charms of a foundation establishment stage cultivator. Han Yi suddenly realized that this foundation establishment old cultivator was on the decline, his twilight years approaching, and not far away from his final days. The feeling of being observed caused the old foundation establishment cultivator to glance at Han Yi, only to find a Qi cultivation 7th layer cultivator. He shifted his gaze back to the center of the field. All right, everyone is here. According to the rules, no disputes can arise after this arbitration. If any secret battles continue, don't blame the Imperial Astronomical Agency for not showing respect. At this moment, the aged foundation establishment cultivator, who had seemed nearly decayed, suddenly emanated an aura of authority. The cultivators of the 3 families present were inwardly awed and unanimously agreed. Well, let's begin. After uttering these words, the elderly foundation establishment cultivator said no more and even closed his eyes to rest. Just as his voice died down, a middle-aged cultivator stepped forward and stood in the middle of the field. Everyone, today my Tang family has found in our ancestral records that the spirit field that belongs to the Luo family was actually ours 300 years ago. It was only taken by force by the Luo family when they were more powerful. For 300 years, we have lost that spirit field, causing the Tang family to decline day by day. Moreover, no foundation establishment stage cultivators have emerged since then. Today, we have decided to reveal the truth to the world and take back the spirit field of the Tang family. Please bear witness. As the cultivator spoke, his voice became filled with emotion, even to the point of shedding tears, making those who saw and heard him feel touched. Standing behind the Luo family, Han Yi naturally knew that these were all just tricks. His face remained calm, and his heart was undisturbed. In the cultivation world, when there was a dispute, there was only one rule: the one with the greater strength was right. As soon as the middle-aged cultivator of the Tang family finished speaking, a young man from the Luo family shouted angrily, "Tang Shangyu, your lies are absurd." Ancestral records. In the Luo family records, it says that the Tang family was founded by the illegitimate child of our ancestor. Don't you think that's funny? Do you believe that or not? The young man was introduced by Luo Yunzhou before as his elder brother. The Luo family patriarch had 2 sons, Luo Yunzhou and Luo Wuzhou. This person was Luo Wuzhou, who ranked 3rd in the Luo family in terms of strength, only behind the 9th layer patriarch Luo Zhiguang and clan uncle Luo Anyang. Tang family's head Tang Shangyu just glanced at him disdainfully, not bothering to argue, and simply replied, "Facts speak louder than words, and this is the fact." At this time, a middle-aged man from the Lu family lightly coughed. "Tang Shangyu, you can fart all you want, but you must watch your words. Your Tang family's ancestor was nothing but a loose cultivator. When the Tang family was established, the Daofu city garrison had records. The Tang family's establishment was only about 180 years ago. How can you speak of 300 years? Enough, I will reveal the truth to everyone today so that everyone can know who the real owner of that spirit field is. Back then, before this middle-aged man could continue, a soft cough interrupted him. What's with all this nonsense? The spirit field has always belonged to the Luo family. Everyone knows this. Since I am injured, you two families dared to covet the Luo family's spirit field. In the world of cultivation, whoever has the bigger fist speaks the truth. No more arguing, it's wasting time. There is no need to be so pretentious. The person who spoke was the slightly pale-faced Luo family patriarch, Luo Zhiguang, who had been watching the Lu and Tang families' performances silently. Lu Heng smiled, his smile filled with killing intent. Since the Luo family's patriarch suggests as such, I, Lu Heng, have no objections. This move is just what I wanted. Tang Xiangyu clapped his hands in approval. Standing behind Luo Yunzhou, Han Yi was still wondering what kind of excuse the Lu family would make up when it was suddenly interrupted. He glanced at the back of Luo Zhiguang standing next to Luo Yunzhou. At this moment, this middle-aged man, who was slightly downhearted, must have been an iron-fisted leader when he was not injured. It was no wonder he could support the entire Luo family.